go. Okay, here we go. I'm a little early, but I guess that's okay. Whoop, 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 whoop. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Um, so we are gearing up for Chad Daybell's Date with Destiny, aren't we? Honey K, welcome. Hey, Pam Frenchman, good to see you. Thank you for calling me Granny. That's the best name I've ever had in my whole entire life. Thank you so much. Hey, Kathy R, it's good to see you. Okay, so very quickly before we get into, and we're going to continue on with the whole Melanie Gibb issue. We did earlier last week. We did her interview with Nate Eaton. We reviewed that interview from several years ago, and so tonight, what I wanted to do is I wanted to look at Chad Daybell's preliminary hearing that he had in August of 2020. Can you guys believe it has been 4 years? 4 years that this joker was arrested, and we have been waiting what seems like an eternity for his trial. So finally, a date with destiny for this little joker, right? Four years, Kathy. I can't even, like, my brain, it's just bizarre. It just doesn't seem, I mean, I don't know how long. I guess it was that long ago, because you remember the crazy lady at the time, she was always every night on YouTube screaming and yelling and fighting with anybody that she could fight with. And all that was going on during this whole Chad Daybell thing. So I guess it has been 4 years. It just, I don't know. I was shocked when I had that realization it had been that long. But anyway, here we are. That's right, Pam. So before we get started, because I did start a couple of minutes early, I have some great news. Do you guys remember the Venezuelan illegal migrant that came into the country? He started a TikTok account, and he was telling people, illegal migrants, he was telling them how to go into people's homes and basically steal the house. Remember that? It's something like squatters' rights, okay? And sadly, there's a lot of people currently now that are having to spend thousands and tens of thousands of dollars trying to get these criminals out of their house. They move in. When you show up to try to go in your house or clean up, then they say you're not allowed in here. They call the cops on you for your own house. And the cops say to the property owner, our hands are tied. Renters' rights trump owners' rights. And then you say, but they're not renters. They're squatters, and they haven't paid me any money, and there's no legal agreement to rent my house or any. And they say, well, I know, but the way the law's written, you don't have a leg to stand on. You have to go through the full eviction process. It can take months, and it can take tens of thousands of dollars to finally make it happen. So this has been going on for a while. This wasn't like a new thing. It occasionally happens. And like if someone has a rental property and the people that are renting it, they move out and they don't notify the owner of the property, then they'll show up, 3 months later when they haven't been paid for the rent. And then there's a whole new family living there. And they're just like, what are you doing here? Who are you? Why are you in my house? And they're just squatting. They've just been, a lot of times they'll walk around and they'll look for houses that have like for sale signs on them, like for sale by owner. All different ways that they do this. It is pretty crazy for people that got caught up in it. But not long ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, there was a guy, an illegal from Venezuela. And he did this very passionate, kind of angry live on TikTok where, he was basically telling other illegals, he was teaching them how to find these empty homes in the United States, how to find them, and how to basically take over them legally so that eventually it just becomes their house and then they can sell it, obviously, at a profit. The guy's name was Leonel Marino, Leonel Marino. He ended up being arrested in the Detroit field office. It was ICE, Detroit field office. He is currently in federal custody, and apparently he's going nowhere. The feds have him. They do not have to turn him over to the state or the city, and they're going to be, extraditing him again. Marino originally, he was registered. He entered the United States illegally on April the 23rd, 2022. He's here less than 2 years, around 2 years. And during that period of time, he goes from, I'm telling you, it's going to make your blood boil. It's incredible. When he first arrives, he's getting $350 a week in government handouts. So the guy comes in illegal. He doesn't follow the rules, the laws for legal migration. He comes in illegally, registers that he's here illegally, and the government is giving him $1,500 a month. Just free and clear, just handing him $1,500. It's very sad because, we, like the people in Maui who are citizens of the United States, when Maui burned, they were only given a one-time payment of $700. So there's some real curious imbalances that it's hard to understand, but I mean, it's obviously real. Anyway, the guy goes from, this is such a crazy story. He's been here 2 years. He was making $1,500 a month by government handouts. He started a TikTok channel, and currently the channel has over 1 million followers. And he's making, you're just going to die. He's making $1,000 a day on his TikTok channel. Isn't it just it's just so hard to make sense. It's just so crazy. So anyway, Marino told his audience that he planned on making a business in the United States out of invading abandoned houses, taking them over with squatters' rights laws, and then selling them for a profit. He claimed that he had some African friends that were already here, and they had successfully taken over 7 houses in the United States and had sold them at a profit. I have thought about invading a house in the United States, Marino said. I found out that there's a law that says that if a house is not inhabited, we can seize it. He's telling his channel this. That's all illegal, or people from Venezuela, or illegals in the United States. He says he then went into a tirade, and he does look a little unhinged, like he's screaming and carrying on. He goes on and he mocks Americans for working. He says, "You're hurt and mad at me because I make more than you without any work, while you guys work like slaves. That's the difference between you and me. I am always going to make lots of money without work, and you're always going to be exploited and miserable and insignificant." This guy is in our country illegally. He is so confident. Like, he is so confident. The U.S. is in its 3rd year of a historic migrant crisis at the border, which has included significant numbers of arrivals from Venezuela. And look, truth be known, Venezuela is having a terrible time right now. It is a dangerous country. There are people, good people, that are trying, to find a safe place to raise their kids. So I'm not hating on this guy just because he's from Venezuela, but I'm shocked at the audacity that this guy has, how long he's gotten away with it, and his plans to further exploit people here. Venezuelans are difficult to deport to their home country because a socialist government is not taking them back. Golly, that's so hard to understand. Wait a minute. What's wrong with my computer? My computer's having a hiccup. Sorry about that. Let's see. So Venezuela is not accepting them back after having started accepting deportation flights directly from the U.S. late last year. So apparently, I guess let me read that again. Venezuelans are difficult to deport to their home country since the socialist government is not taking them back after starting deportation flights directly from the U.S. Yeah. So the Biden administration, they did an app. And so many of these people that are in other countries that want to come to the United States, they download this app while they're still in their country. They download the app. The United States arranges a flight, and then they go to their airport. They're in their hometown and get on an airplane, and they fly them into the United States. And so apparently Venezuela has agreed to be a part of this program. But the people, the Venezuelans that make use of the program, if they get on a U.S. flight and come into the United States, Venezuela refuses to take them back. Only 834 Venezuelans were deported in 2023, according to ICE, despite there being over 335 encounters. Venezuelans can still be removed to Mexico, but officials have told Fox that many then typically just re-enter the U.S. as gotaways. Okay, so I didn't know I was going to go into all that, but I thought, thank goodness they caught the guy, right? Because he's teaching people how to steal, abandoned homes, which is horrible. And the fact that he's making so much money on his TikTok channel. I am doing something really wrong, y'all. I'm not doing good. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we are going to look at Melanie Gibb's testimony during Chad Daybell's preliminary hearing, which was 4 years ago in 2020. And so I thought that it would make it easy. We watched her interview with Nate Eaton the other night. Now we'll watch her testimony on the stand, and it'll be interesting to see if her testimony changed at all. All right. And of course, all of this is in preparation for Chad Daybell's trial, A Date with Destiny, that begins on Monday, 8:30 Mountain Time. Monday, they start jury selection. It'll be approximately 5 to 7 days of jury selection. And then as soon as they've got a jury seated, they'll immediately go right into opening statements. Okay. And I will be there. Not in Idaho. I will be covering it on my channel. The way that I'm doing it, just so there's no confusion, I still have to work. I have a job. I have multiple jobs, but I'm going to work in the mornings. And then on the channel, I'll start at either 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, depending on what day of the week it is. At either 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, I'll start with the testimony that came out in the morning. We'll take out all the commercials. We'll take out the lunchtime and the breaks, and we'll run all the way through until we're finished at the end of the day. I think we'll probably be going from about 12 or 1 to about 5 or 6. And that's probably going to get us the full day worth of testimony. So I know it won't be very many people watching with me, but that's okay. It'll be our friends, and that's what's most important, isn't it? All right. So let me share. Hold on a minute. We'll get sweet Melanie. Makes it gross. That's what Chad calls her, sweet Melanie. And we'll get started. Here we go.
You can come here through the gate on this side.
Uh-oh, I got to do something.
Ms. Gibb, if you'll stand here in front of this plexiglass, raise your right arm and face the clerk.
There you go. And it was obviously still during COVID. Pam Frenchman says, please, everyone,
Ms.
get
Gibb, I
out,
didn't hear you.
vote legally.
Ms. Gibb, you can be seated here at this witness chair.
That's terrible, Pam Frenchman. $900 a month.
Ms. Gibb, if you'll scoot up to that microphone and then pull it down below your chin and aim it at your chin. Mr. Wood and Mr. Pryor, I think the record isn't picking up your voices as well as it is everybody else's. So if you'll do the same, pull that down and then point it up at your chin, it makes a much better record.
I think she looks frightened.
Down, Mr.
You know, when she was doing an interview with Nate Eaton, she was so confident and
Mr. Wood, you may inquire when you're ready.
And in the courtroom, she looks
will you state your name and spell it for the record?
Melanie Gibb, G-I-B-B.
Okay. Ms. Gibb, are you familiar with the defendant, Chad Daybell?
Yes.
Approximately when did you meet him?
About 3-4 years ago.
Okay. Do you remember where you met him?
Yes, I was in Morgan, Utah.
Okay. Since you've met him, what is the nature of your relationship?
The nature of our relationship was talking about some of the books that Chad had written and his relationship with Lori.
I think, see right there, she looks uncomfortable. I've
You
said in the
Lori,
past, I've said in the past that, and I'll point it out when we get to that part. Sometimes the word sister wives comes to mind. I wonder if there was something. I wonder if Melanie, Lori, Melanie Pulowski. I wonder if Chad was engaging in plural wives. And there were some things that were said during the preliminary hearing that made me think that. So when we get to that part, I'll point it out. But it looked like she had a hard time answering this question, you know, about how did she know Chad and what interest did they have in each other?
Lori Vallow.
Correct.
Okay. Approximately when did you meet Lori Vallow?
October 2018.
And do you recall where you met her?
Yes, in Mesa, Arizona, at a church.
Okay. What was the basis of your relationship with Lori Vallow?
It was based upon things that we talked about, which were spiritual in nature.
Would you call yourself, were you friends with Lori Vallow?
Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar, or do you know if Lori Vallow had any children?
Yes.
Are you familiar with Tylee Ryan?
Yes.
Did you ever meet Tylee Ryan?
Yes.
And did you ever have opportunity to see Tylee Ryan with Lori Vallow?
Yes.
Okay. And was Tylee Ryan Lori Vallow's daughter?
Yes.
Ms. Gibb, when was the last time you saw Tylee Ryan?
July or August of 2019.
Where was that?
In her house in Chandler, Arizona.
Okay. Are you familiar with J.J. Vallow?
Yes.
Who is J.J. Vallow?
Lori's adopted son.
Okay. When you spent time with Lori, did you have occasion to spend time with JJ at all?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Gibb, I want to call your attention to, well, do you recall where you were between the dates of September 19th, 2019 and September 23rd, 2019?
Yes.
Where were you?
Rexburg, Idaho.
Why were you there?
I was there to visit Lori. I was also there to be at an event called Firm Foundation.
Okay. Do you recall when you arrived in Rexburg?
Thursday, the 19th.
And do you know approximately when you left Rexburg?
Yes, I left Monday, the 23rd, around 9:30 in the morning.
When you were in Rexburg, where did you stay?
In Lori Ballow's house.
Do you recall the address of that house?
No,
Do you recall the general location of that house?
it was a townhome. I don't know the name of the street.
Okay. Was that townhome located in Rexburg, Idaho?
Yes,
During that weekend, did you have opportunity to spend time with Lori?
yes.
Okay. About how much time did you spend with Lori that weekend?
Most of the time, except for on Saturday, I spent most of the day, about 10 hours, up the street at that event.
Okay. When you were at Lori Ballow's house, did you ever have occasion to see Chad Daybell there?
Yes,
Okay. Do you recall approximately how many times you saw him there that weekend?
2, 3, 4 times maybe.
Okay, so you don't recall an exact number.
Not an exact number, but I think every day. I think every day is except for the Monday.
Okay, and it was Monday, September 23rd?
Yes,
Okay. Did you have occasion to witness Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell interact with each other?
yes,
How did they interact with each other?
affectionately.
Okay, and when you say affectionately, what do you mean by that?
Holding hands, hugging, light kissing.
Okay. Did you ever have occasion to speak with, when you were, during this approximately 4-day period in September, did you ever have occasion to speak with Lori Vallow about the nature of her relationship with Chad Daybell?
Yes, we talked about it often.
Okay. What did she tell you about that relationship?
That they were very much in love with each other and wanted to be together as soon as possible.
Okay. And did you ever speak with Mr. Daybell about that relationship?
Most likely, but I can't recall the exact words.
Okay. Ms. Gibb, during that September 19th to 23rd, 2019 period, did you ever see Tylee Ryan?
No,
Did you speak with Lori Vallow about the location of Tylee Ryan?
she informed me that Tylee was at BYU, Idaho, and mentioned something about being with friends.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
When you were, during that same period, did you have occasion to see JJ Vallow?
Yes,
Where was he located when you saw him?
he was in the family room mostly, and then outside some.
Okay, when you say the family room, can you be more specific?
The room that's adjacent to the kitchen,
Okay, and what home was that located in?
Lori Ballow's home.
Okay. Ms. Gibb, I want to call your attention to the night of September 22nd, 2019. Do you recall what you did that night?
Ms. Gibb, you're facing the state. I'm going to invite you to turn your chair just a little bit so that I can
This way?
see
Oh, this way?
this way, so that I can see your face as you're speaking. I recognize you're answering Mr. Wood's questions, but I need to see your face as well as you're answering.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't you think she looks super nervous?
What did you do?
I think she looks totally nervous.
September 22nd, 2019.
The night of the 22nd, I was doing a recording with Lori and David Warwick, and we were in the kitchen recording that.
Thank you,
Who is David
Alma.
Warwick?
He is a boyfriend of mine.
Okay.
Okay, so I got a couple people saying, is this a repeat? Is this new? Yes, Mary. What we are doing is we're preparing for the Chad Daybell trial. It has been 4 years since that little sucker was, had his preliminary hearings. So what we're watching is we are watching the preliminary hearing that occurred in August of 2020. It was like the first week in August, the 3rd, 4th, I think 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The first thing we watched was Nate Eaton's interview with Melanie Gibb. Now we're going to watch her testimony during the preliminary hearing. And then we're going to watch a couple more things where she told other stories, because she seems to have a hard time keeping her story straight. So it's just preparation for the Chad Daybell Date with Destiny. It is just getting ready, reminding us of what we knew previously, and basically getting ready to watch him face the music. You kill your wife, you kill 2 little kids, you kill a woman's husband. It's time for you to own it. So that's all we're doing. We're just getting ready.
And you said you were recording a podcast?
Yes.
Okay. Was Mr.
Is it
Daybell
low?
there during the recording of that podcast?
Let me
No.
see why it might be low.
Do you recall if JJ Vallow was there during the recording of that podcast?
I did not see him.
Did you see Alex Cox that night?
Yes.
Okay. What did you witness, or what did you observe Alex Cox doing that night?
He brought JJ into the house during the middle of the podcast.
Okay. And did you see him bring JJ into the house?
Yes.
Okay. How did Alex Cox bring JJ into the house?
He carried him in,
Okay.
and he was asleep.
And
Judge, this may have occurred, but I'm trying to get a foundation as to the time again. I may have missed it, and I apologize if I missed it.
Mr. Breyer, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Do you mind pulling your microphone down and then aiming it up at your chin? So, there you go. Repeat that one more time.
Judge, I missed the time, and I can't recall which time she said, if she did, when that occurred with Alex bringing the baby in. I don't recall.
All right.
I'll lay more foundation, Your Honor.
I didn't know if you did or not. I thought I may have missed it.
Please do.
Ms. Gibb, do you recall about what time Alex Cox brought JJ back into to Lori Vallow's home?
I can say we recorded the podcast between 9 and after midnight, a little after midnight. So someone in between that time.
Okay. You don't remember the exact hour?
I don't.
Okay. I'm going to call your attention to the morning of September 23rd, 2019. What did you do during the morning of September 23rd, 2019?
Upon awakening, I got ready for the day and came downstairs, had a brief conversation with Lori Vallow, and then got into the truck with David, and we drove off to Pocatello.
Okay. What was your conversation? Do you recall the content of your conversation with Lori Vallow that morning?
Yes.
And do you recall approximately what time you had this conversation with Lori Vallow?
Sometime between 8 and 9.
Okay. What did you speak about with Ms. Vallow that morning?
She shared with David and I that JJ was acting with a lot of energy, and I'm trying to remember the words, but she recalled him climbing upon the refrigerator, knocking a picture down of Jesus, she said, and then climbing up upon the cabinets.
Okay. And did you see JJ that morning?
No,
Do you know if he was in the house that morning?
no,
Okay. And do you have any idea of where he was that morning?
no.
Okay. Over the course of that weekend, did you ever have a conversation with Lori Vallow about Kay Woodcock?
Yes,
What was the nature of that? Do you remember when during that weekend you had that conversation?
Friday, Saturday, it could have been
Okay.
several of the days, I'm not sure.
What was the nature of that conversation?
She was expressing that she wanted JJ to go live with Kay, and she expressed different solutions. He could either stay with Kay, or I believe a son of Kay's that had a family already that JJ was comfortable with, or that they liked JJ and it was a good match. I think they had a little girl, and she said that she would express to Kay that he was that she was sick or something was wrong with her, so that she could live with him.
So that who could live with?
JJ could live with Kay.
Okay. And at any time after that weekend, did you ever have a follow-up conversation in regards to that subject?
Yes,
Do you remember approximately when you had that follow-up conversation?
it was shortly after. I can't recall.
What was the nature of that follow-up conversation?
I asked how it went, giving JJ to Kay. She told me that they met up in an airport, and she told Kay that she had breast cancer and that she would need help with JJ for a period of time, and she said it went well.
Okay. So was it your understanding after that conversation that JJ Vallow was located with Kay Woodcock?
Yes,
And had you ever met Kay Woodcock?
briefly.
When?
The time that Charles Vallow was moving out of his house in Arizona to Texas,
And who was Charles Vallow?
Lori's husband.
Okay. Ms. Gibb, I'm going to call your attention to the date of November 26, 2019. Do you recall where you were on November 26, 2019?
I do.
Where were you?
I was in Pleasant Grove, Utah, in David Warwick's home.
Do you live in Utah?
No,
Where do you normally live?
Gilbert, Arizona.
Okay. And so were you visiting Mr. Warwick that day?
Yes.
So I think I did get a little bit of volume. I added an extension to it. It's not a whole lot, but I definitely think it's easier to hear. So I hope that helps.
Did anything significant happen that day in regards to Chad Daybell?
Yes.
Okay. What contact, if any, did you have with Mr. Daybell that day?
I received a phone call from Chad Daybell from his cell phone to my cell phone, and I answered the phone call.
Okay. And do you recall approximately what time it was?
Late morning.
Okay. And you said you got a call from his cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know it was his cell phone?
Because when the phone number came up, it had his name on it.
Okay. And was that a contact you had previously stored in your cell phone?
Yes.
And
God, he's such a goon gourd. Isn't
Ms. Gibb, had you previously had any discussions with Mr. Daybell
goon
through
character?
that same phone number?
Yes.
But he is a monster. Make no mistake about
Do you recall what that phone number was?
Yes, it was 208-690-9374.
he
Um,
he is, Pam.
And I may have already asked this, I apologize if I did. Approximately what time were you called by Mr. Daybell that day?
Late morning.
Okay. What was the nature of that conversation?
My son would say
He
he's a
said,
derpy
"Hi,
derp.
Melanie, this is Chad. The Rexburg police are going to call you. Don't pick up." He
Okay.
said,
Where did the conversation go from there?
he let me know that the police were over at Lori Vallow's home in Rexburg, and that they were inquiring about where JJ was, and that she was going to tell the police that JJ was with me.
Okay, how did you respond?
In shock, and I can't recall if I said anything at that moment. Oh, I did say after the shock, I said, "JJ's not at Kay's house."
Sure, you said that.
How did Mr. Daybell respond to that?
He said, "No."
Okay.
Sure.
Did you,
Now
was there any other
wrap your mind
content to
around
that
this for a minute.
conversation?
She said the same thing in her interview with Nate Eaton. You know, that she said, well, JJ's not with Kay. Like, she's really surprised, right? Like, she's horrified, correct? And yet, did she call the cops? Did she jump up and help and try to make sure to see, you know, that the cops had all the proper information? Or did she start hiding from the cops? How long was it before she contacted the cops? Weeks? So I'm sorry, Melanie, sweet Melanie, your story isn't really very logical, that you're in horror to find out that JJ's not with Kay, but you hide for weeks from the police. If you cared, if you were worried about this little kid, who in fact was a little kid, not a 15-year-old, he was a little kid, why wouldn't you reach out to the cops and say, oh my God, this must be terrible because I've been told that JJ was with Kay and I don't have him. I haven't seen him and I don't know why she lied. What happened there? Why didn't you do that? She got off way too easy, because I think her level of culpability is very high.
I asked him if he was nervous, and he said yes.
Was anything else said?
I can't recall.
That same day, November 26, 2019, did you have any contact with Lori Vallow?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember approximately where you were when you heard from Lori Vallow?
Yes, I was in the same place.
Okay. And where was that again?
That was in Utah, in David's home.
And approximately what time did you hear from Lieutenant Vallow? Lori Vallow?
I possibly within an hour or two. I can't exactly recall.
Okay.
You can recall.
When you say an hour or two, what is that in reference to?
Her calling me, Lori calling me.
Right. Was it an hour or two after what?
I'm sorry, Chad's phone call.
Okay. What was the nature of that conversation?
When I picked up, she said, "Hi, Melanie, this is," well, she probably didn't say her name, but she said, "Just want to let you know everything's fine." She was upbeat, cheery, acting like nothing was wrong.
What happened after that?
She told me that the police had been there asking for JJ, and that she told the police that.
And right behind him is Larry and Kay, JJ's grandparents. And they're listening to this nonsense. It's nonsense. It's so heartbreaking. JJ's not with Kay. but then she doesn't contact the police for several weeks. It's terrible, absolutely terrible.
That I had JJ, that I was at a movie called Frozen, that she asked me just to pick up my phone and take a picture, a random picture of kids running around. And that she would come by and pick him up, and then, no, I'm sorry, that after me driving home from Utah to Arizona, that she would come and get him later that week.
I'm gonna stop right there. Ms. Gibb.
Look how uncomfortable she
back
is.
to this conversation or the statement about picking up your phone.
Mhm.
What did she ask you to do with that again?
Take a picture of random kids to make it look like it was JJ.
Okay.
She, here is, again, this is only my opinion, right? I'm not in her head. I don't have mind reading skills. But for me, the way that she's keeping her lips pulled tight and, kind of keeping her head down, I think she's so hyper aware that she knows she's lying. And JJ and Tylee's grandparents are right there. Well, not Tylee's grandparents, but JJ's grandparents are sitting right there. She knows that she's not telling the truth. She knows that it's a concocted story, that she's able to give information about Chad and Lori, but keep she and David Warwick out of trouble, out of hot water. There's logical reasons, there's timing issues, and there's reasons to believe that this is not really what she did and how it all unfolded. And just watch her body language. She's so uncomfortable.
And I kind of lost track. I apologize.
That's okay.
You said something about driving down to Arizona. What was that part of the conversation? Who said what?
So she knew that I was going down to Arizona for Thanksgiving, back to my home. And she said that she told the police that she was going to pick him up from my house from Arizona, which I had no previous knowledge to this. This was new information to me.
Okay. Did Lori say anything else to you about JJ?
Yes. So, Pam, JJ's body was released at the end of October, I think, of 2023. So he is buried.
I can't recall exactly, but I can recall what she talked about Kay.
Okay. What did she say about Kay?
She said that Kay was trying to kidnap JJ. And I said, how do you know? And she said, well, I've received emails, being threatened that was that he was going to kidnap her. I said, well, what does she say? And she said, well, she sent me emails, and she said, she quoted Kay saying, it's not like I'm going to kidnap him or anything. And that she was trying to protect JJ and from her and other people, not just Kay, but possibly family members as well.
Okay. And you said that to your perception, she seemed upbeat and positive. Were those the words you used?
Yes.
Okay. To your perception, when you spoke with Mr. Daybell that day, how did he sound?
Very nervous.
Is that why you asked him if he was nervous? After receiving these phone calls, how did that make you feel?
Horrible. I felt in shock. I was not okay with it because she told something to the police that was not true, which I had no knowledge of. So I was, I had a really bad feeling in my stomach, and I felt very shooken up by it.
Hi,
Do you
Carson.
know if the Rexburg police attempted to contact you that day?
Hi,
They did.
Diane.
Okay. How did they try to contact you?
He just
They tried calling me, and once I believe they left a text.
Okay, and did you respond to them that day?
Not the Rexburg police, I did not.
Okay, how come? Is there a reason?
Well, first of all, Chad tells me not to answer it, and then Lori tells me that her child is in danger. So
What? Do you see what I mean? How ridiculous this is? She really wants you to believe that they said, you know, the police are here, they're looking for JJ, and she goes, oh my gosh, you mean JJ's not with Kay? What? And yet, and then she doesn't get in touch with the cops for several weeks. And now you're hearing her, you know, he's saying, well, why didn't you call them? Like, why didn't you? And she says, well, because Chad told me not to. Really? You do everything Chad tells you to do? Because Chad's running around killing people. So sweet, Melanie. Maybe you know more than what you're actually telling the truth about. Maybe you and David Warwick got together, drummed up a little something story to try to keep your ass out of hot water, but it wasn't exactly the truth, was it, sweet Melanie?
I'm not sure what to believe or understand what's going on this time. I'm very confused.
Okay. Did you speak to any law enforcement that day?
Yes.
What interaction did you have? Do you know which law enforcement agency you spoke with that day?
Gilbert Police.
Okay, and do you recall if there was a specific individual you spoke with that day from Gilbert Police?
Officer Ryan Pillar.
I'm sorry, can you say that?
Officer Ryan Pillar.
Ryan Pillar?
Correct.
And do you know how that last name is spelled?
Pillar, or there could be a Y. So I'm
Like a
not
pillar
sure.
of salt?
What contact did
Melanie?
you have with Officer Pillar that day?
He called me, left a message, and I returned his phone call.
Okay. What was the nature of your conversation with Officer Pillar?
He was responding to the Rexburg police and was asking about JJ and his whereabouts.
Okay, and what did you tell him?
I told him that I had been with JJ, but that he was back with Lori.
Okay. When you said you had been with him, what did you mean by that?
That he was with me, and then she came to get him,
Okay.
so that it would turn the police back to Rexburg and not with me, because
Now,
Come on, Melanie.
Ms. Gibb, had you recently had JJ with you?
No.
So when you told Detective Pillar that you had, was that an accurate statement?
No, it was not.
Okay. And did you believe that JJ was actually with Lori at that time?
I was not sure.
Okay. So was that pursuant to the knowledge you had, was that an accurate statement?
Yeah.
Okay. But did you also tell Detective Pillar that JJ was not with you?
Correct.
And was that an accurate statement?
Okay, so let me say this, Diane. I see you guys keep addressing somebody named Honey Hush. I clearly have blocked them because I can't see what they're writing. And so, you know, if they are pushing the envelope, just block them. Just kick them out, put them in timeout for like 24 hours because I've already blocked them. I can't see them. So they clearly have already acted ugly.
Statement.
Yes.
Is there a reason you told Detective Pillar you had him?
Yes, because Lori.
Okay, Diane, let me say this again. I am not seeing anything that Honey Hush is saying. So she's already been blocked. We probably know who it is. So if she's, saying, "Look at me, you're mistreating me," just put her on timeout for 24 hours. We don't do drama. I just don't want to do drama. I just can't do it. It's so boring. It's not fun. We're just going to move on.
It was misleading, and she was manipulating
Thank
me,
you, Diane.
trying to convince me that he and she was in danger. And so because of our friendship, I thought, I have really no idea if this could be true or not. And I was very perplexed, very troubled, and I really did not know what to do. I was trying to reconcile all these feelings I had.
Hey, Desired.
Did you have any subsequent contact with the Gilbert Police Department?
Yes,
And do you recall approximately when that was?
I believe it was December 7th or 8th.
Okay. And what contact did you have with the Gilbert Police Department?
I called Officer Pillar, and I informed him that who I was, and that probably a lot more detail about the conversation about what happened, about JJ and Lori and Chad. And I also had something that I had recorded that I wanted to give to him.
So it was just to save her butt, right?
Let's talk about that.
The,
What had you
the
recorded?
recording, it was weeks before she called the cops to say, "I don't have JJ," right? I never had JJ. It was weeks. So as the Rexburg police, as Idaho are running around frantically, as Kay and Larry and Crescia, their family are all just terrified, Melanie's just hiding out with David Warwick in Utah. They're just hiding. I heard Andy from Popcorn Planet say they're doing an expose on JLR tomorrow. Interesting. Well, he does have quite a colorful past. So, interesting. Okay. Anyway, back to this. So for several weeks, she's hiding out with David Warwick in Utah. And then she's basically, they set up Lori and Chad, and I don't have a problem with that. I'm great. Set them up all you want to. It doesn't bother me. But they did this recording where they called them. We're about to hear that call. But basically, they did this recording. They got the recording where it shows Melanie going, "What's wrong? I don't know what's happening here. Where are the children?" Basically creating evidence. She and David Warwick created evidence. They concocted a story that would make her look innocent. And we're about to hear that. But the reason why I'm rather cold to it is because she's contacted and by the police. She knows that the police are at Lori Vallow's looking for the kids. Daybell himself calls her and says the cops are going to call, don't answer the phone. She's fully aware that the kids are now missing and the cops are in on this, and Kay and Larry are looking for the children. She knows, and she does not call the cops back. She doesn't call them back to say, I don't have them. I don't know where they are. I don't have them. Why? Why didn't she call them back? Maybe she knew more. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if somebody calls me and says, "Pretend like you have my child, take a picture of random kids and give it to the cops and lie to the cops," I'll tell you what's going to happen. The first thing I'm going to do is call 911, and I'm going to say, "Get officers over here right now because something bad has happened." I don't know why my friends are saying this. I don't know what in the hell is wrong with them, but you search this property. I am telling you, those kids are not here, haven't been here. I don't know what they're up to. I would be more than an open book. What would make somebody sit around for weeks avoiding the cops when all they're doing is trying to find 2 missing kids? Why would she hide out for 2 weeks or more? You see my point? And it wasn't until they got the recording where Melanie can say, oh, what do you mean? I don't know what happened. Once they got the recording, that is when she went to the cops. Imagine that. Imagine for a couple of weeks missing kids, and maybe you could be the one that stops them from imminent harm. And yet, because you were worried about your own culpability, you kept your mouth shut until you could invent evidence to remove any guilt from you. It's crazy. She had to have already known they were dead. That's the only explanation for not reaching out to the cops saying, hey, I don't have them. I haven't had them. I don't know where they are. She knew they were dead. I'm convinced of it.
That you wanted to give to Officer Pillar.
I recorded a conversation with Chad and Lori on Chad Daybell's phone, about 21-minute conversation. And that conversation was about where was JJ? The conversation talked about why did you tell the police that I had JJ when I did not? And she explained that. And I also explained to her my concern for her salvation and Chad's.
Hi, Donna Burns.
And that
Zelda, you know I love you, girl.
And I also wanted to make sure that the police knew that I did not have anything to do with this.
Okay. How did you record that conversation?
On a cell phone.
Okay. You mentioned earlier the conversation was with Chad's number.
Correct.
Was that the same number you discussed earlier?
Correct.
Okay. And what phone did you use to have this conversation?
My phone, and then I had a recorder phone on David Warwick's, and so I put my phone on speaker, and then I recorded it with his phone.
Okay. Had law enforcement asked you to record a conversation with Mrs. Vallow or Mr. Daybell?
No.
Okay. So this was something you did of your own accord?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember, and maybe you already answered this, what day you made that recording?
December 8th.
And where were you located when you made that recording?
I was in David Warwick's home.
I'm sorry, where?
I was in David's home.
Oh, okay, David Warwick's home.
Yes.
Okay, I apologize, I misheard you. And again, is that the same home in Pleasant Grove, Utah?
Well,
Yes.
she was married to David Warwick,
Your
but
Honor,
I think they've since divorced.
the state would ask that state's exhibit that has been marked as Exhibit 19 be shown to the defense and handed to the witness.
Exhibit 19 is being handed to the witness.
Ms. Gibb, do you recognize the state's Exhibit 19?
Yes.
Have you seen it before?
Yes.
Have you reviewed the contents of that disc?
Yes.
And when did you review the contents of that disc?
Yesterday.
Okay. And what is on that disc?
It's the exact conversation that I recorded on my phone.
Okay. And is that the same conversation you shared with law enforcement?
Yes.
And was it Detective Pillar that you shared that with?
Yes.
Okay. And the recording on that disc, is it a true and accurate representation of the original recording you made?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, the state would ask that State's Exhibit 19 be entered into evidence.
No objection.
Exhibit 19 will be admitted.
Your Honor, the state would request that Exhibit 19 be published.
All right, would you like to publish that on the screen here that's hanging on the wall?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there video and audio or just audio?
Just audio.
Miss Warwick, or excuse me, Miss Gibb, if you'll hand that exhibit to Madam Bailiff.
Yeah, she keeps her eyes away from the dweebster. Yep. I'm telling y'all, this is going to be one of the most interesting parts of this trial, I think. I think it's going to be incredibly interesting when John Pryor goes after her. He is going to go after her so hard to discredit what she says. I think it's all going to come out that this was like a plural wives thing and that she was super jealous of Lori. And I think this is going to be a big part of the trial that's going to be like a shocker, you know?
Madam Bailiff, was there another disc in there? Yes. Will you please hand that disc to Mr. Wood so that he can identify it and we can make sure that that gets put into evidence?
Your Honor, that is State's Exhibit 14. It's no longer in the case with the marker.
Okay.
Your Honor, would you like me to hand this to the bailiff or?
Yes, please hand it to the bailiff. Madam Bailiff, do you have the envelope that shows, okay, Exhibit 14? All right, and Madam Bailiff, or Mr. Wood, the disc that has been placed in the television at this point is Exhibit 19, is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
You're moving to publish that?
Yes.
Mr. Pryor, any objection to publishing Exhibit 19?
No objection, Judge. Thank you.
You may proceed, Mr. Wood.
Thank you.
We'll be back on the record in State versus Daybell. The court took a brief recess to cool the courtroom down, the air conditioner, as well as to allow Mr. Wood some time to get his technology ready. Mr. Wood, do you wish to proceed with publishing Exhibit 19?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may do so.
I kind of like this judge. Do y'all like this judge or do you like Judge Boyce better?
This is a recording on December 8th at 3:43 p.m. And I am calling Chad Daybell's phone number, and hopefully I will be talking to both of them, Chad and Lori. So here goes the phone call.
Hello, sweet Melanie.
Hi, Chad. Hey, Lori. How are
Hey,
you?
let me put on speaker.
Oh, okay.
All right.
We're enough with the phone. How are you guys?
We're okay. How are you doing, babe?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. I was wondering, where are you guys?
We're just hanging out.
Hanging out? Are you in Idaho?
We're in Idaho.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God. I don't know about you guys, but like just hearing his voice, I just want to, he's so cringe. If you agree, if you think Chad Daybell is just the cringiest human being on the planet, the strangest, most bizarre human being, put a 1. If you think he is just classy and sassy and full of wonderful, put a 2. Uh-oh, Chad. Everybody thinks you're cringy. Oh, I can't hardly listen to that voice. Ugh. You make me sick. When she talks like that, it makes me sick.
I just wanted to ask you a question, if you don't mind, Lori.
Yeah, of course, honey.
I want to know, you remember we talked about JJ going to Kay's house, and you told me they went there, and now he's not there? I was wondering what happened.
Well, I had to move him somewhere else because of her actions. So,
Was she doing something? Like, was she trying to come get him or something, or like trying to kidnap him?
well, she said that lots of times before, but
Okay. When I asked Chad the other day, I was like, hey, where is JJ? And he said, for my security, he didn't want me to know. So is there a reason I should be in danger to know where he is?
no, it's nobody. It's his danger. It's the danger that there's people after me.
Okay.
We
So,
just felt that if you knew, that puts you in a danger.
well, this
And we felt like if you know, sweet Melanie, you'll be in danger too. And my sister-in-law makes me sick.
in a bad position.
Yeah, bad position.
Everybody, if they don't know anything, then they don't have to say they know.
Right. So you're just worried. Okay.
I'm just to keep him protected and
keep you protected.
and keep everybody else.
We're going to keep you protected too, sweet Melanie. He is the most mealy mouth, weak, cringy, curious oddity of a human being of all time. I can't even imagine what the hell Lori Vallow was thinking. You look at Charles, he was a really handsome man, right? Handsome, personable. What in the world was she thinking when she picked this dweebster up? He is a class A derpy derp.
I appreciate that. Well, I was wondering why you told the police why he was with me.
I just needed to have somebody so I wouldn't have to tell them.
Okay, so right there was really critical, important moment. Listen to what she says.
Well, I was wondering why you told the police why he was with me.
I just needed to have some.
Did you hear it? I just needed to use, and that typifies, that's right, Truth Seeker, that typifies everything you need to know about Lori Vallow. She is a user. Human beings hold no value to her whatsoever. They are simply tools that she uses to get her needs met, including her children. Think about that. She doesn't look at human beings as being valuable in their own right. They are tools to be used for her to get what she wants. Yeah, she's the queen of the 144,000, queen of the damned.
Somebody so I wouldn't have to tell them where he really was because they were going to tell Kay where he is.
Oh, yeah. So do you think it's like your family, or like your family, your dad, or those
my
people?
family, well, not my whole family, but as you know, most of my family is working against me, and
Yeah.
with her, basically.
Yeah. Is JJ safe?
He is safe and happy.
Okay, well, that's good to
Jesus.
hear.
And remember, at the time she's saying this to Sweet Melanie, JJ and Tylee are dead. They are dead, and Tylee has been dismembered and burned, and JJ has basically undergone almost like a mummification. It's this woman is, well, she is sincerely mentally ill. And I heard, well, how do I want to say this? So recently I heard someone talking about schizophrenia. If a person like Ruby Frank, did she do to her children what she did because she was suffering from psychosis, or was she just a control freak? Was she just sort of sadistic and powerful? She had like a personality disorder. Same kind of question with Lori Vallow. And this person sort of minimized the likelihood of schizophrenia or a psychotic disorder. But I don't think this person really works in a practitioner setting. So here's a little bit of FYI in these cases with Ruby Franke and Lori Vallow, that with schizophrenia or psychosis, it is common. In fact, it's such a common occurrence that in the DSM-5, hyper religiosity that can take the form of God talking to you, you being able to talk to God and him answer, or you having been bestowed godlike powers. That is actually a central theme of schizophrenia. I knew somebody one time that was schizophrenic. She used to talk to God, but only on channel 3. So if the television was on and it was on channel 3, then God would talk to her and she would talk to God. They would have a communication. But if the television was on channel 10 or channel 12, they couldn't have the communication. So I can tell you stories all day long. Schizophrenia, psychosis, it is nearly universal. There is a central theme where religiosity takes on an important part of their organization. So if they're a well-organized schizophrenic, they're more likely to have that religious fervor, right? There'll be some kind of special powers that are a part of it. So I think in the case of Ruby Franke, 100%, that is highly consistent with someone who is psychotic or has schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a bit different type of thing. It's a more long running. I think she was having a lot of trouble with her husband. But it all got pushed through this religious filter, and he bought into it. He believed what Jody was saying, and he said, well, I have these addictions and I'm willing to leave so that, I'm not harming my family anymore, and I'm going to work hard to get better. And when I do, I'll win my family back. And he was paying hand over fist loads of money to Ruby. But it was almost like folie à deux, or folie, what is it called for the mass group? I don't remember now. Folie à trois, folie à mas. It was like a shared psychosis. I think that Ruby Franke was clinically, in a clinical setting, her behavior, her experiences were really consistent with a diagnosis of some type of psychosis, possibly schizophrenia, if we were to able to go back and really gather data from historical timing and things like that. Another psychologist minimized that possibility, kind of reduced it all to personality disorder. No, I think it was far more, it was much deeper than that. She was open to suggestion. She was highly delusional, all on her own. She already had religious fervor. And so when Jody Hildebrandt came up, now Jody, there's your sadist. There's your sadist. There's your toxic narcissist right there. I don't think Jody was psychotic at all, not a bit. I think she was enjoying the control. I think she had some fetish problems, maybe relating back to, she grew up in a family with 5 brothers. That, knowing what we know about the Mormon, or I guess I should say the fundamentalist, more conservative part, it's possible she had some abuse in her background, but nevertheless, she was very controlling. She was manipulating people in a way that really made my jaw drop. And so with Jody, with Ruby, who was already experiencing mental illness, not personality disorder, but mental illness, she was ripe for manipulation. When Jody came in, had the backing of the Mormon church, it just, because of her mental illness, she had no defense against the nonsense that Jody was putting in her head. So I disagreed a little bit. I do think that both Lori Vallow and Ruby Franke, I definitely think we could definitely go down a diagnostic pathway that would be similar to some psychosis or schizophrenic experience. The religious stuff is just part and parcel of schizophrenia diagnoses.
Are you afraid of anything? Like, are you afraid to tell me that you're just afraid that that I could be in danger? Like, you're afraid that, are you afraid of anything?
So Folie à Deux is 2 people sharing a delusion or psychosis, right? Shared madness. There's also folie à trois, where you get 3 people that share it. But there are also situations, sometimes like in cult-like settings, where you'll get a mass of people that will all develop shared psychosis, like Jim Jones in The Jungle. Yeah, so usually those situations, it can be family abuse. Sometimes you see it with abusive situations, and I definitely think what happened with Ruby Franke's kids, I definitely think that family, the 4 of them, the older ones, went ahead and got placed with another woman, Pam, out away from it. But yeah, I think with the type of abuse that was going on, it was very systematic and planned. I think they were all in a shared psychosis. I think the 4 of them, not obviously, I think Jody is just a creep. She was getting a charge out of it. She was getting a thrill out of the control and abuse. But I do think that Ruby, with her children, I definitely think that in the very least, that was folie à trois, where the 3 of them began to share their psychosis. The kids bought into it. The kids that were being so desperately abused, they told the police that they deserved it, that they were possessed, that they had demons in them. So that's the very definition of folie à deux, folie à trois, and folie. For some reason, I got a mental block. I can't remember with the large group. I'll look it up.
Are you afraid of anything? Like, are you afraid to tell me that you're just afraid that that I could be in danger? Like, you're, like, I don't, like, if I knew, Like, how could that hurt me? I don't understand how that could hurt me if I knew where he was.
Well, I'm just not telling anybody so that nobody has to say where he is or get questioned to where he is, so I can keep him as safe as possible.
Yeah. Okay, I hope that he's okay. I hope you guys are okay. I did have a question that I asked Al at one point, your brother, if I wanted to know, like where he was, and he said I did not want to know.
Well, hi there, Kresha. How are you doing? I hope this is not triggery, but I'm sure you guys are on pins and needles already. So we are praying for y'all. We are there. It's time for this thing to happen. I'm calling my whole coverage Folly Demas. Thank you. Thank you for Kresha. Thank you. I knew it was there somewhere in my, okay. So I'm calling it A Date with Destiny, right? Folly deterreds. That is the absolute best, Zelda. You're amazing, girl. Okay. The church pays all the religious people to have channels. Look, I'm going to tell you something. The Chronicles of Mormon murder are filled with stories of murder within families where there's abuse and there's this crazy religiosity, and you're not looking at it accurately if you can't see the influence of the church in these situations. Look, I'm Methodist. I'm a good old Southern girl, right? We don't have a lot of crazy Methodists running around killing each other's kids and family members and poisoning our wives and our husband. There's something a little bit disturbing about what's being taught in the Mormon church, and it doesn't mean every single Mormon. Please don't. I'm not going there. I'm talking about these situations like, what about Warren Jeffs and the FLDS? There's a very distinct example of a group of people that were mainstream Mormon, and then you get a charismatic leader gets involved. They pull away, they make an offshoot, and then they go back to this real concrete, hardcore, base religion where man is king and everybody else is there to serve them, right? You had it with Warren Jeffs. You saw it with, there's so many. Obviously, Crush is here with Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow. You had that situation, almost exactly the same dynamics, almost exactly the same set of circumstances. You've got Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrandt. And when you really start listening to people just related to Jody Hildebrandt, Ruby was just one of her victims. Ruby's children, Ruby's husband, that was just one victim family. There are many families that Jody Hildebrandt, with the blessing of the Mormon church, absolutely destroyed their families. And you want to know what it was all about? Listen how creepy this is. It was all about, in all these families, there was a common theme where Jody Hildebrandt was involved as the therapist of record. That the dad, the male, was a sex addict, that he had sexual problems, and that the mother is too permissive with the children, and the children are possessed because, mom and dad are so screwed up. And that was the central running theme throughout every family that she worked with, at the behest of the Mormon church, Mormon leadership. They made the referrals, they paid the bill. And when she lost her license, because she was so unprofessional and unethical, when she lost her license, Then what did she do? She picked up the Holy Grail. I am Jody Hildebrandt, life coach. Oh my God. Any professional mental health expert who is properly trained looks at this life coaching problem, and it is terrifying. It is very frightening. Now, I'm saying that I've got 3 life coaches that I refer some of my patients to learn very specific skills and techniques, right? But they are not, they're not psychologists. They're not qualified. They don't have the knowledge, the background information to do that type of work. And there is something to be said for having a humble awareness that the kind of work that you do, you could really screw another person up. You could really destroy another person's life if you are not very, very, very careful. Mental health experts should never give advice. I'll never talk to somebody and say, well, I really think you need to get a divorce. I think that's what you never. And yet what do life coaches do? They say, oh, well, I've been so successful in my life. Let me tell you what to do with your life. And it is very damaging. So the disturbing part about Jody is that she lost her license as a professional counselor because she was unprofessional, unethical. She lost her license, and yet she just picked up the robe of I'm a life coach, which is it's the Wild West. There's absolutely no regulation. They started coming out saying, no, we have regulations, but it's not legal. It's not the state law. There's no enforcement body. There's nothing. It's a paper tiger. It's not real. It's kind of, but since this deal with Ruby and Jody, Utah has begun the process of developing a set of standards for life coaches. The problem they're going to run into is this: because of the way that life coaches have marketed themselves, when they start trying to develop guidelines, limitations, they're going to realize, hey, these people are trying to practice mental, psychological and mental health care, but they don't have the education, background, and training to do that. And this, I think what Utah is doing could be the beginning of the end for the whole life coach thing. I think things like health coach, I think that is very appropriate. Taking people, teaching them yoga, acting as personal trainer, motivation, things like that. I think that's very effective. I think something like business coach, I think that is incredibly helpful and successful. Taking a person, teaching them how to apply for jobs, teaching them how to dress so that they're likely to be hired, those kinds of things. I think that's very appropriate. Even having someone like that as a financial coach, teaching someone how to do a budget and how to, live within their means, very, very effective and helpful. But when somebody calls themselves a life coach, and then they start talking about symptoms of depression and anxiety, they're mucking around in primary relationships, they're not really prepared to do that kind of work. And a lot of people have been hurt by it. Robert Hamblin, David Hamblin's dad, trained his children just like Frankie and even Tylee and JJ, but in a more extreme case. So many more are suffering the same thing. Yeah, the stories, the people that have come out about Jody Hildebrandt through the years, it is very humbling how wide her damage reached. She hurt so many families. And Kresha can talk on this, and mods, if y'all will put up a link to her channel, I'd appreciate it. She's got loads and loads of videos that are so amazing. And what happened with Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, to JJ and Tylee and Tammy, in so many ways, it's so similar to the metamorphosis that happened like with Ruby Frankie, or even in the early days with the FLDS movement and Jessup. It's people that they're charismatic, they have personality disorders, they want control, they like power, they develop fetishes of control and power, and then by using God, using religion, and at that point, it's off to the races. Abuse is just overflowing. It's terrible. Read my above comment above the Hamblin. I have 2 above the one you read. It is the same people. Hold on a second. I would love to explain this to you guys. It's been so stigmatized and has turned political and conspiratorial. So don't ever stop these people from more damage. Well, I agree. Like, I have zero doubt, Crusha, you already know this. People are going to come in and they're going to say, I'm Mormon. Me and my family don't behave this way. And it'll be like I'm speaking directly about them and their family. That is not the point. That is not what I'm saying. There are millions of Mormons around the world that are great people and not abusive. What I'm saying is this pattern is being repeated in too many families, and it all seems to follow the same path. That tells me there's a common catalyst. It's happening somewhere in the church, and maybe it's just an interaction effect where you have somebody with a particular type of personality disorder gets exposed to a certain teaching in the church, and then things go off the rails. But if you don't have a personality disorder, if you're healthy and you get that same experience from the church, it doesn't make you go crazy. That's what I'm trying to say. So please, please be kind. So let's see. Okay, so I did Robert Hamblin. Okay. Okay, y'all listen. There was a satanic panic in the 1980s. The case against David Hamblin and other Utah elites are accused by multiple victims of the same abuse of mainly children. Hamblin's father was a sociologist who was government funded to conduct research targeting children who came from impoverished families and who were into behavioral modification, not in a good way. I know, I'm telling you, it scares me to death. Robert Hamblin trained his children like like the Frankies did, and even Tylee and JJ to some extent. But there are so many more that are suffering the same thing. This is so deep and so widespread. I would love to explain this. It's stigmatized. Okay. Thank you, Crusha. It's not a Mormon thing. I wish that was the case. I had like 3 more comments above those. Did I read them all? I think I read them all. You know how humans complicate things. This can be so simplified, but it comes with being labeled. Okay, so I totally agree. And this is one of those issues of a little bit of knowledge being a dangerous thing. So basic psychology, basic general psychology, behavior modification, right? Coming out of like the 60s and 70s, that you if there's a behavior you want, you tell them what it is, and then you reward them when they do it. And there's operant conditioning, and then there's classical conditioning. And so that is what like animal trainers use. If they want to teach a dog to dance or speak or jump through hoops, It's just get them to do a naturally occurring behavior, pair it with a word, give it a reward, reinforcement, and then now you got a dog that's doing tricks. The problem is that we started applying this behavior modification onto children, and that was first done in the school systems by Albert Bandura. Now, don't get me wrong. Albert Bandura is my hero. Okay. I love Bobo the Clown, but a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. And so as he begins teaching the general population about behavior modification and coercive control, people take that and apply it in an unhealthy way. We also had mental health experts, professionals that did it. They just didn't know the damage that it could cause. Now, in today's world, here in 2024, when a person goes through a PhD program in psychology, they're basically taught really, 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 really respect the power of behavior modification. With the power of behavior modification, if you know how to do it properly, you can cause people to change their expected behavior. And you have to be sure that you're aware of the ethics of that moment. Is this something you really even have any business mucking around in? So someone like Jody Hildebrandt, who's got a raging, or she seems to have a personality disorder. I'm not diagnosing her. I've never spoken with her. I've never conducted an interview. I'm just talking about the possibilities. If someone has a serious personality disorder, if they have fetishes of power and control, if they begin to understand the various contingencies for operant and classical conditioning, they have the ability to really harm people using good psychological principles of behavior change. And there's a really strong backlash against teaching this at a low level. This is way too deep. I don't want to talk about all this. Anyway, psychologists are not just said, we're not just taught, here is how you change behavior. Now go out in the world and change whoever you want to. Absolutely not. We have ethical guidelines and principles, standards of professional behavior that limits us just absent-mindedly deciding, hey, I think I'll change this person. We cannot do that. It is absolutely wrong. We can't do it. It's the worst. That whole medical thing, do no harm. The worst that a psychologist can do is to intentionally use behavior modification tools to change a person without their knowledge. That is the most horrible thing that we could do, other than improper relationships with a patient. So someone like Jody Hildebrandt, she learns how to do this, but on a real base level. She doesn't have a good understanding of conditioning, but she knows just enough to become dangerous. And now she begins to apply it in a way that is like psychological warfare. What she was doing against those kids, Ruby's children, she was conducting psychological warfare against those kids. The worst kind of manipulation, Nazi-esque type of damage done to those kids. So I'm very uncomfortable with this practice that is happening with the Mormon Church. I also get a little uncomfortable with other churches that are providing mental health treatment. I think we have to be very careful that when you are seeking health, when you're seeking health care that is for mental health issues, you need to be getting treatment from someone who is approaching it from the point of view of healthy functioning, that the goal becomes that you are a healthy, happy, productive person, not, well, I want to make you the best Christian that I can make you. That is wonky and it's unethical. It's the absolute worst thing that we can do to a person. So this idea that the Mormon Church would refer people to Jody, she was the licensed professional counselor working with these people, and it was definitely a religious-based type of treatment. And then the church is paying her. There's something so unethical about that, y'all. So unethical. All right. And yes, so we really went the long way home on this one. I do happen to think Lori Vallow, there was some psychosis. Even going back into her history, there are things that it looks like she was really suffering unusual behaviors from an early life. But, you know, like living with Charles, he was providing a stable environment, right? He was providing a stable environment for she and the kids. And so she was able to sort of keep everything under control. But then when she went so far deep into the religiosity, which again, that is at the core of a lot of these psychotic episodes, at that point, and then she had the Chadster come in, who's just a derpy derp. He came in saying, hey, you know, I'm going to be king of the 144,000 and you're my queen, baby. She was just so far already out of touch with reality that her personality, she was like, hell yeah, I want to be queen. This man is going to make me a queen. And it was the, you know, if one kind of crazy meets up with the other kind of crazy, you end up on the 6 o'clock news. If they had never met, if they had stayed apart from each other, it's possible that neither one of them ever would have hurt anyone. But there was something special about her kind of crazy, fit like a glove with his kind of crazy, and they brought out the very worst in one another. It's inversion. That's what people like Tom Harrison are doing. It ties in with the CIA. I hate all these weird labels. It makes me uncomfortable, but it's the only way to explain it. Well, yeah, but part of that that's making you uncomfortable, Kresha, is because there has been a public campaign of humiliation and shame that if you bring up these topics that are real, people make fun of you and they say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. And I say, no, I'm a conspiracy realist. I happen to know MK Ultra is actually a real thing. They did do it. I know the names of the psychologists working with the military that were doing it. I know why they were doing it. And Canada actually settled and gave, I don't remember now how many, I used to know how many people get like 200 people that were damaged from the Canadian MK Ultra program. They actually had to acknowledge it in a court of law and provide financial remuneration for the damage that they did to these patients. So in Canada, it was acknowledged. They admitted that they were doing these things. Of course, in the United States, the CIA, because they are, you know, little cowards, they denied the whole thing and continued to deny it, even as they were doing experiments, giving people LSD, which is a central focus of the MK Ultra experimentation. One of the congressmen found a document. It was like an invoice. It was like an accounting of money, right? But the identifiers that were on that seemingly innocent document that was found buried in all this paper proved that what the whistleblowers had said was true, and it related directly back to MK Ultra And Congress was then forced to admit in shame that they had done these experiments, but it was one crazy doctor and they were never going to do it again. And so now if you bring up MK Ultra, people call you crazy and they say you're a conspiracy theorist. And the reality is, no, it was a real thing. And I happen to think they probably are continuing it even today, would be my guess. Religion should not be part of our mental health treatment. Lori Daybell has a long history of mental illness, as well as her father and siblings. I lived 6 miles away from Lori Cox in the early 70s. Wow. Well, I think Lori's mom showed some very peculiar oddities, and Crush's here. One of the things that stood out to me with Lori's mother is a story that was told about her. They were sitting at the dinner table. The whole family was there, all the kids and everything. And Lori's mom would take a bite of food and she'd chew it up and then she'd basically spit it out onto her plate. And then she'd take another bite and chew it just like she's eating normal, but then she'd take it out of her mouth and put it on her plate. This chewed up food. And the thing that she said was, you only have to taste it, right? So to me, that is some very peculiar behavior. And you would say, well, that's an eating disorder. Sure, it's a little bit ritualistic, but it's something more. That idea that you would chew food up and then put it right back on the plate, there's something else happening there that's much deeper. Maggie Jane says, I think religiosity can be an indication of mental illness. I don't. I'm religious. I'm a Methodist. I think it's the interaction between mental illness and religiosity can be very complicated. And I think people that perhaps are feeling very alone, or they're really under an incredible amount of stress, they may turn to religion for safety or relief, almost like talking to God is a kindly old grandfather that would be protective. But in reality, religion provides a great deal of benefits to the people of the community. It can be an organizing force. It can serve as a community center. There's a lot of positives, but just like anything else, too much of it can be a bad thing, right? Same thing with Ben and Jerry's Cherries Garcia. I'm good with, a cup or half a cup or so, but a whole pint, I'm going to be sick. So all things should be in moderation. Otherwise they become bad for us. Extreme. I agree, Maggie. Absolutely. The extremes of religiosity is where things are going off the rails. Absolutely. Totally agree. And as I said at the beginning of this, Maggie, in the case of schizophrenia and other types of psychosis, religiosity is a central theme. It doesn't happen in every single case, but it happens so often that it's in the DSM-5. So more likely than not, if there's someone with schizophrenia or they're having a type of psychotic episode, they will somehow believe either God's talking to them, they're talking to God, or they have some kind of special godlike powers bestowed upon them. That is a very common theme in schizophrenia and psychosis. So, all right. Joel Osteen. Oh my God, y'all are going to get me started on Joel Osteen. Look, the guy is a phenomenal inspirational speaker, right? He's an inspirational speaker. He builds people up. He motivates people I guess usually to give money. So, but he is an excellent speaker, and he does very well building people up. He doesn't really use religion very much. He may now. Back when I really kind of was watching, trying to learn about him, maybe he'd quote a couple of scriptures or something, but many people had a complaint against him that he wasn't religious enough, right? His dad was really hellfire and brimstone. So does he do good work? Yeah. I mean, he's helped a lot of people, but more along the lines of like a therapist. He inspires people to get out into the community, start exercising, just doing basic good health things. But I wouldn't call him a religious leader. I know he's a mega preacher. I've been to the church here in Houston. It's actually a basketball. Well, it was where the Rockets used to play. They don't obviously play there now, but it's a huge auditorium. But I'll tell you how much money they were making. A lot of people don't know this. They were making so much money that his brother, who was a surgeon, you know how much surgeons make, his brother actually closed his practice and came to work for the church here in Houston because there was so much money to be made. Not long ago, they actually found wads and wads and wads of money and signed checks stuffed in the ceiling and the walls of the church. They had so much cash, they were just shoving it anywhere. That doesn't sound godly to me. That's, I'm sorry, but that is not okay to take money from people that legitimately probably need it, right? That's not right. It's not right. So anyway, it's another story. Jason Mao, Zulema Pastenis, Audrey Baratiero, Serena Sharp. See, I'm going to tell you something, Crusha. Serena Sharp, to me, she is every bit as interesting as Sweet Melanie. They are two peas in a pod. I think Serena Sharp was in this thing deep. I really do. Karen Pryor, Abraham Gileadi, Sean Littlebear, Jody Hildebrandt, Ruby Frank, Pop the James, and more. Whew. Mitt Romney, most politicians. Sure, that was terrible, Zelda. Yeah. My Maserati does 185. I lost my license. Okay. Well, he's got more than a Maserati, Kathy. He's got an airplane. Not a little bitty, oh, I'm so fly. He's got like a DC-10 airplane that would hold like more than 100 people. You want to know why he got an airplane? Because his wife was so horrible to the stewardesses and the pilots and the passengers. She's got a whole Princess Meghan Markle problem. She thinks she is special. And it got him in a lot of trouble. And so he just bought his own airplane, and then they, retrofit it like Elvis or something. I wonder how Jody's girls are doing. Well, they've got a long road ahead of them. It's very long road ahead of them. So I don't know if Crescia wants to come up. I'll put a link if you want to. Obviously, it's late. You weren't planning on coming up. If you don't want to, don't worry about it. But I would be interested to know, Crescia, if you are you going to try to stream the trial, or you're going to be working? You're going to do nighttime reaction? Like, what are your plans for how to do this trial over the next 10 weeks? Mitt is in this too. Chad actually spoke at some of the same events as Pamela Romney Openshaw. Jody graduated Brigham Young University with another Romney sister. Ugh. Well, and what about Rona McDaniel? Rona Romney McDaniel, the damn head of the RNC, she's a Romney. Mitt Romney's sister. It's weird. It's insidious. They're in everything. Hotel California, the true story of hotels where children are harmed. Oh, really? It's Mitt's niece. Yeah. Terrible. Okay. So are you going to try to be live like during the day when the trial's going on, or will it only be, you'll do nighttime coverage, or do you even know yet how you're going to approach it? I think she doesn't know yet. Okay. Zelda, you're so funny. I tell you what I want to know about Zelda. I want to know about Brian Koberger. That's the dude that freaks me out. He is a very unique and frightening human being. He scares me to death. Because I think he's a Jeffrey Dahmer. But he got caught, right? His arrogance. But I think he followed the same path as Jeffrey Dahmer. All right. So let's go back to the beginning of this phone call, and I'm going to be quiet. I know y'all are going to be glad of that. Okay. I'm going to be quiet as we listen to the phone call. Sweet Melanie invented evidence to prove her innocence. I don't buy this. This was all contrived. She knew what was going on with the kids. If she didn't, she would have reached out to the police in a panic and said, I don't know what the hell is wrong with Lori. I don't know why the hell she's saying that JJ's with me. That kid is not with me and never been with me, and leave me out of this. But she didn't. She hid it. She waited. She hid from the cops. She went down to or up to Utah with David Warwick. And I believe they concocted a story together. They memorized it over and over and over. And then they intentionally made the telephone call to Lori and Chad to record and have a piece of evidence that she could then reach out to the police and say, hey, I hear you're looking for me, but I'm not involved, and here's my proof. It's contrived. I don't believe that it's true. All right. Here we go.
Everybody, if they don't know anything, then they don't have to say they know. Well, I had to move him somewhere else because of her actions. So
Was she doing something? Like, was she trying to come get him or something? Or like trying to kidnap him?
well, she said that lots of times before, but
Okay. When I asked Chad the other day, I was like, hey, where is JJ? And he said, for my security, he didn't want me to know. So is there a reason I should be in danger to know where he is?
no, it's nobody. It's his danger. It's the danger that there's people after me.
Okay.
So
if you knew, that puts you in a danger.
well, just in a bad position.
Yeah, bad position.
Everybody, if they don't.
Right there, you can hear what a weakling Chad Daybell is. He's so weak that he makes one weak little comment, as weak as that chin of his, he makes one weak little comment. Lori just says, well, no, blah, blah, blah. And she corrects him. And then he's like, oh, I know. Yeah, you're right. I'm an idiot.
Don't know anything, then they don't have to say they know.
Right, so you're just worried, okay.
I'm just to keep him protected and
keep you protected.
keep everybody else good.
I appreciate that.
Hey, Cresha, thank you for coming up.
I just came to slap the crap out of her. Just kidding.
It's hard to even listen to their voices, isn't it?
Oh, it's like chalkboard. It's worse than nails on chalkboard. It really is. 5 years. Yeah, I'm done.
And here's the other thing. Of course, you know, we don't know these people. You knew her. You're used to hearing that voice. I don't know how you listen. I know it just it's
I
got to be
probably,
the worst.
as ADD as I am, I probably just zoned out. She was really engaging though. She really was. It was so, I mean, really, when I think back about it, it's just like, oh my God, you know, like I've seen a meme before where it's got someone it's like a man on it, but I mean, they have different ones. They're just memes, right? But there's like this beautiful man on the front, you know, and it's like when you know, wait, basically even the you know, Satan or the devil can be in your, you know, you can fall in love with them or you can fall for them basically,
Yes.
but Satan was in my family.
Yeah. I mean it. And
Straight up.
you know what? I'll tell you when I felt the first time with this whole story. I mean, it's so scary. Those kids
Mhm.
missing for so long. Where I think when I got overwhelmed, when I had this realization just how intense this was the night that Charles, they canceled his plane ticket. He got
Mhm.
home and his truck was gone. He got to his house and, you know, the house had been emptied and Jason Mal was there. Right? Don't you think that's who Melanie was she was referring to?
I mean, that's what this is, though. I mean, yes, and it also extends to the allegedly to I'm gonna say allegedly. Everything I say is gonna be blanketed in allegedly, and it reflects
Yeah.
nothing on allegedly innocent.
Yeah.
But it also connects to, I mean, he was in this, and I'm talking about, or I'm trying to talk about Bishop Gabe Bonilla
Yeah.
and his
Yeah.
wife Nicole. Gabe was the illustrator for Jason Mal's books. They have I
Yep.
actually have the paper where they have their signatures on it, Jason's and Gabe Bishop Bonilla, where they have a business together, you know? And then there's that
Wow.
whole movie thing too. That also
Oh
factors
yeah,
into
that's
all this.
chilling.
That factors into this because Chad Daybell and Lori Daybell, they were meeting with a guy, his last name is Jensen, and I found his video not long ago, um, sharing his story about, you know, meeting up with Chad after all as this stuff was all going down, and Chad was they were gonna turn his books into a freaking movie. I was like, "Ew." But what's going on here, really, when you take a step back and you look
Absolutely.
at The Sound of Freedom with Tim Ballard, and I'm
Yes.
not trying to politicize anything. They've done it. You know, it's not me.
Yeah.
I don't do politics.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
No, when that, you know, when I had that, when I heard that and I had the realization, oh my God, Jason
Mhm.
Mao was there that night when
Yes,
Charles was going through this
I
hell on
think
earth.
Imma say this, and I've been saying this. I have looked at the flyers of Jason Mowes where he was supposed to be. I would say it would be his alibi. It was in Billings, Montana, and it was the same weekend that JJ was murdered, okay? And they also had a Firm Foundation expo right there in Rexburg, and I mean, like, for the longest time, I could not find the flyers you know, to verify these things, to
Yeah.
vet them out. And just recently I ran across them and I'm just like, wow, you know, I don't know if it's like, because I get so far down into the weeds, and it's so much easier for me to work on other cases that they do tie into this case. I'm
Yes.
telling by the time I die, no, hopefully before then, but I'm about to tie it together, and not just for my family, not just to tell their stories, but I know there's so many other people that tag along with this, or join me, you, and so many other people in the conversations to it's putting our own puzzle pieces together, because we're all connected, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's wild. It's so wild, and I mean, I have the chills right now, because you just can't have this many. I understand it's kind of an echo. It is an echo chamber, and not kinda. There's no kinda. Anywhere can be an echo chamber. And I mean, I understand that, but the whole second coming, it's like a tagline, and it bothers me a
And
great deal.
they're doing it right now today. Right now
Yeah. Oh
today,
yeah.
they're talking about
Yeah.
their white tents and their call outs and buy your prepper food. It's
It's all a
incredible.
ruse. It's all a ruse. I mean,
Why in the world? Let me ask you this.
it's exploitation. Go ahead.
A church that is worth how many billions of dollars is the Mormon church?
Almost, they're the wealthiest church in the United States of America. Okay.
Yeah,
And they're worth almost $1 trillion, okay? And
right?
they actually have said on record that they are saving it for the second coming of Jesus Christ. And I'm
Okay.
like, but that's when you have to know that there's people like Robert Hamblin, the sociologist, who not only wrote that paper, did that kind of research with the behavioral modification, he also was writing abstract research papers about changing the meanings of words, and
Yes.
without the hearer's knowledge,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I'm just like, "Hello, there's so many more of him." And okay, and so it's not just on Robert Hamblin, it's not just on Jody, it's not just on Chad, it's not, but I mean, mainly with these therapists. David Hamblin was a Mormon therapist who was also referred clients who he also
God.
allegedly abused. And this streams all the way back from the so-called satanic panic. The satanic panic is so trashed. I mean, it's not a satanic panic. It's it's extreme child abuse. There you go.
Absolute. It's systematic
And
child abuse.
they convolute it by adding all the terroristic elements to it, because it works,
Yes.
obviously. I mean, we
Yes.
see that. And so when people, I mean, I've fought with myself over this for so long. And I look at my family's faces, and I'm just like, nobody's going to label you. Nobody. You guys were dubbed, rated, degraded, and deleted from this planet and from my life and all our lives. And then on top of that, insult to injury is the same, and I say the same people. I'm just saying, because it's a jury of your peers. The same people that allegedly murdered my family, are the same people delivering or carrying out the so-called justice.
Yep.
And it
Yep.
pisses me off and it hurts my soul, I swear.
It is terrible. It is
It
terrible.
sucks.
I
It
think a
sucks.
lot I think a lot of this prosecution decisions
Mhm.
made by the judge, I think a
Mhm.
lot of it was expressly protection of the church.
I'd say more so on, and I hate to say this because I'm on team justice, whatever that is. But, there's times when John Pryor, I was about to say Richard Pryor, John Pryor, anybody who can get anything out of these people who did all these wrongs, I know in my heart, they're convicted in my heart. Okay. So that's that. And, but I have to say all the buzzwords, to keep myself protected, because God knows they don't have boundaries. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying it bothers me because I've met Rob Wood. I made it a point. I had to go to Rexburg. I had to go be in the same place where Tylee and JJ were, where they walked, where they went, where what they saw, how they just to kind of just be where they were and just make peace with that. And whenever I did go, actually, it was the same weekend. I'm sorry, not the weekend, but it was the same week that it was a court hearing that Lori was supposed to be there. And me and mom were not going to go because they moved that one out of the way and they were going to that's when Mark Means and John Pryor were trying to DQ Rob Wood. And so we went up there anyways. And I'm glad because it was not as pressured, you know. And I did. I made a point to look him in the eyes, shake his hand, you know, kind of feel him out, see, just size him up. I'm straight up.
Right.
And he told me, he was like, those are our kids. And I believed him. I did. But then way over here in Louisiana, you know, where it's reality over here.
Right.
And I can see everything so clearly. And I mean, I appreciate people like, you know, and this is no shade on anybody. Trust me, this is my family. They were Mormon, okay? I love them. I don't care. I love humanity, period. End of story. But this was my introduction into the Book of Mormon
Yeah.
and the Mormon culture. And this is my situation. So I'm just asking. I've done my research. I do my research. I'm going to continue because I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to be biased. I don't want to be, I think it's too late for cynical, but I'm really,
Well,
I
but
hate
look,
this position.
there there are a lot of people that have left the church that are speaking out from their own experiences. They are cynical through their own experiences. They
Yeah.
say this is a really unhealthy environment.
Yeah.
So
And
I
it
don't
is.
think that you have any. I don't think
Yeah.
you need to
I mean,
worry about the way you look at this. I think we all look at it and see it and ask ourselves, how in the world did this guy sitting here, this derpy derp,
yeah.
how in the world did he walk around Rexburg? Everybody knew him.
He went to the
Everybody knew.
temple even. Him,
Yeah,
Lori, and their friends went to the temple visits. I mean, it's
crazy.
FBI records that were entered into court record. And but people are just like, I don't know where all the people are that react to what I'm saying, you know, where are those people at? Because I'm just like, how does this not piss everybody off or like sound the bells and the alarms? Like it's
And
nuts to me.
here's what I want to know. Okay, here's the kind of thing I'm talking about. So apparently, Chad working, he had somebody they were working together, right? And it's been years since I saw the interview, so I can't remember exactly the guy's name or anything. Anyway, he's talking
Oh,
about how
Eric Smith.
is that okay?
That's Julie Rowe and Eric Smith and Chad
Oh my
Daybell. They're
god.
all like
Oh
buds.
my god.
Now,
Oh
Eric Smith has left the church since then. Actually, he was excommunicated, and I've actually seen him doing some advocacy work for, and I'm going to say it, I'm not going to say the total stigmatized label, you know, conspiracy word, but the ritual abuse. And
yes.
so I'm like, wow, change to me is the best apology.
Yes. Yes.
Um, you know, Chandler Police Department, the way they um the way they intervened and took action right away in Blaze Thibodeau, that came out of Arizona, right? Right there, same ward, same town,
Yep. Always,
same
it's always
brother,
the same.
sister. But I mean, I have a different view of that. Of course I do, right? I'm like, why do I always have to be opposite everybody? It sucks. You know, there's some, I don't know. There's the
Well,
victim in the story is Blaze, and that's
but one
be
thing
it's
is
cool.
that you've dove in really deep with the
So
information
deep.
and knowledge, and other people just have like a shallow
Yeah,
understanding.
it
So
sucks.
that would explain some of why your view may be
Oh,
opposite.
it's so isolating. It so is, but it's like, you know, just whenever I was sounding the alarms about Tom Harrison, and I mean, I was just continuing on by myself, whatever I gotta do, right? I'll circle the wagons till till I beat it in, basically. Jason told me about that, my fiance. He was like, "Oh, no, you'll say it 3, 4, or 5 different types of ways," you know? And I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Oh, yeah." So, I mean, but I mean, if you look at my mom, I'm kinda driven just like her.
Sure. Sure.
And we're all for the same thing, I do believe. The majority of us, all we all have the same end goal. We're against this. And so I think it's just really important to really hear each other out, you know? Really just think it out, what people are saying. Silent and listen have the same letters, you know? But it's so hard, especially when the whole world's talking about your family's case and
It's
always
got to be surreal.
giving the world their narrative. And you're just I mean, I'm just like, "Oh my god." And I've not been popular, you know? Again, it's very frustrating,
Yeah.
but I understand it's not for everyone. And do I think Lori had anything to do with Joe? Yes, 144,000%.
I think so too. I
Uh,
do.
actually, the weekend that I say the weekend, my uncle Charles came to Lake Charles, Louisiana, whenever my nanny died. My nanny his is Uncle Charles and my mom's mom, or as Keith Morrison referred to her as the matriarch. I was like, whatever. Anyways, but
How surreal is that having Keith Morrison talking about your family? That's got
it's
to be so
freaking
surreal.
weird. It's weird. I don't know if I like it. I
I
really
know.
don't.
I
It's
know.
like I do, and then I appreciate the effort and the coverage. You know, I don't want to sound like I'm ungrateful, but it's a double-edged sword, y'all, and it's so thin. It is so thin, and people
Yeah.
just really need to do the self-awareness thing. I didn't know half this stuff
Yeah.
until I was in it, and then I was like, "Oh, oh." You don't realize so many things to just experience at one time, and it's
And
so
see,
overwhelming.
see, that's part of what really bothers me about this case is that you have the you have the most notable thing. Obviously, you've got the murders of these two beautiful children. You've
Mhm,
got the murder of Tammy Daybell. You've got the murder of Charles Vallow,
mhm.
and that gets a lot of the attention, right? And
Yeah,
it all gets boiled down to, okay, Chad and Lori done it. Well,
yeah, but
and
that's
Alex, but
bullshit.
he's
I'm
dead.
sorry.
But
Yeah,
when
uh-uh.
you actually look at the actual story and the
It's
depth
still
of it,
panning out in real
there's a
time.
l there's a
It's
lot of
still
people that
filling
knew.
out.
Yes, it's
That's
terrifying.
Jody. This is the same movement.
It's
So,
terrifying.
for people to okay, look, I wanna nail everything and everything bad on Chad and Lori. Why? Because I think they deserve it. But I am very fair. I don't wanna pin anything on them that is not theirs or they're not that they didn't do, because it doesn't do any justice to my family's stories. It doesn't tell Charles's or Tylee's or JJ's or even Tammy's and Joe's. It does not tell their stories if it's not correct. So when you have people just labeling I understand that it was, my Uncle Charles and Brandon Boudreaux who were calling this a cult. So that's where I got it from, straight up,
Yeah,
Uncle Charles. He gave it to
yeah,
me.
yeah,
And I didn't know, I was so ignorant as to what a cult was. I mean, I still remember it. Uh, mom Mom, Larry, and Uncle Charles were talking about well, I wasn't we weren't really all talking to one another, but anyways, me and Larry kind of broke off and went into the living room, which is literally there's no wall in between. But and so Uncle Charles mentioned a cult, and so me and Larry broke off to go to the living room and sit down, and I was like Charles Manson? Like a cult? You know? And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "No, he didn't kill anybody." And he just looked at me like I was cray cray. And I was like, "Oh." Self-awareness, like,
yeah.
I guess I need to check into that. But then my uncle was murdered, and And so here I am with cult
But
accentuated. And
like with the case of Charlie Manson, he didn't actually kill anyone, but it was
mm,
he that inspired it. He told
mhm,
them, he instructed them to do the things they did,
right.
correct?
I'm
So
actually learning.
my situation, my perspective is, okay, Lori and Chad, they acted with impunity. They were somehow they had a belief that they were going to build this temple,
I
and
think they were told this though, Jules. I
I think
do.
so too. I think there's a Charlie Manson out there somewhere.
There's yes, and so
That's what I
that's
think.
who I want. That's the big fish, and I'm just like, when M. Russell Ballard died, he's the apostle that's connected to Tim Ballard, that's connected to Tom Harrison, that's connected to Janet Russin, that's connected to I mean, he spoke at the same damn conferences as Chad and Lori. I have a picture of him and Jason Mouse shaking hands in their patriarchal grip.
Really?
And
Wow.
I'm telling you, if there's a cult leader in this, it is Tim Dan Ballard, right? He's got the backing of one of the apostles. I lie. I'm sorry. 3 of the Mormon apostles. That's 3 of the 12
God.
allegedly that backed him and got him to start Operation Underground Railroad, which I'm going to say it because this is my truth. This is my research. And I've come to find out, and I've been knowing this. I've been watching this. I've been watching Tim Ballard and his whole movement. I mean, like a hawk. I just didn't know what to make of it yet. Over the years, there was so much happening at one time, and people were so hyper focused on Chad and Lori.
Yeah.
And then they weren't even arresting, you know, uh, fibs here, or oh, I won't say it on your channel, Warwick, but War with a D.
Say it. Say it. Yeah, I am
War
no fan of
Wardick,
David Warwick.
Wardick, right?
Yeah, I am
He
no
is so
fan of that man.
convenient, isn't he? He's so convenient.
Very. They are so
Um,
both he and Melanie are
it's
so,
all a protection.
oh my
And it's
God.
not so much the church, but yes, it's the organization that they belong to. Unfortunately, that's on them. That's not on me or my family or anybody. That's on them. And so I used to tell people, and I just reminded myself to maybe bring this up more. don't don't come at me about, how I'm reacting, like this is legit. It's not okay. These are human lives. Okay. And so anything materialistic on this planet does not equate to the value or the pricelessness of their existence here in our lives, and being able to enjoy their own lives. So don't come at me.
But
I get so frustrated when people are like, "Oh my god." And I'm like, "Oh my god," like what about
yeah, but
it's not
I don't
about a
think
damn
anybody,
church.
people that know, they would never argue that the Mormon church is
You
selfless, and
really?
they you have to know, you look at it, it is a money-making machine.
Yeah, but they don't get the cognitive dissonance that you and I have. They are inside the echo chamber, and they're just, like, enjoying it,
Well,
and
here's
they're
the
all
question.
reaffirming each other how much they are doing great, and how much, us outsiders here are we're just the opposition. We are the Gentiles. They are the chosen ones.
Well, so here's the question that I would ask any one of those believers that's inside of this machine. I would ask any one of them, answer me one question that logically, and then I'll leave you alone. And here's my
Mhm.
question. How is it that an organization that is worth nearly $1 trillion, how is it that they need your 3 month supply of prepper food?
Yeah, I don't
Why
get it
are they
either.
instructing you guys to
I'm
spend
like, "They
all
don't
your
want none of
life
your stuff."
savings, right? How do you even work that out in your head? With
Yeah,
with
do
a
the
trillion dollars,
ICMED.
they
I
can
mean,
take care of
ICMEL.
everyone. It's
Yeah, the
crazy.
math
It's
don't math.
crazy. It's crazy.
It doesn't.
Math's not mathing. Nope.
Right, it does not, and, I mean, really, I went into this just so I mean, I was a blank canvas, okay? I mean, I really did. I wanted to they were being dubbed a cult and a cult leader and da da da. We thought they were in bunkers, all these things. I really didn't. I didn't really think any like either way.
I thought they were in a compound. I thought
I
somebody had
wanted to
taken
believe
them
that.
and they were up camping somewhere,
I hope,
somewhere.
but
That's what I thought.
my heart, I mean, and there's dreams you have during all this. There's, it's so, it shocked my system. It really did. It shocked my system. And it was very traumatizing. And that was just my uncle's murder. I mean, that traumatized the hell out of me. I'm not trying to make this about me, but I mean,
Well, no,
he's
it
not
is
here to
about
tell his
you.
experience,
It's about you. And
unfortunately. It's so crazy
the
because,
story of that day is nuts. It's nuts
yeah,
that Tylee went back in the house. It's nuts that they went through the drive-through window right after they
it
were
didn't
there when
take
he
his
got shot.
phone. They didn't take his phone.
It's nuts. It,
And
it
I'm just like, what?
it's a crazy
And,
story.
and Alex Cox had prior, assault. I mean, he served in prison,
Yep.
freaking
For
prison.
for doing something that you can't even imagine a person would think about doing.
Right.
Alex Cox actually took a what's the shock thing? A stunner, not a stun gun. What's it
That's
called?
a stun gun,
A taser.
a taser.
He actually, for
Thank you.
those in the channel that don't know this, Alex Cox took a taser and shot, was it Joe Ryan?
Yeah. Well,
Shot
at a
Joe
kid exchange,
Ryan.
mind you. So think about that element right there. Charles was doing a kid exchange. Joe Ryan was doing a kid exchange, and Brandon
Yes.
Boudreaux was doing a kid exchange.
Same MO every
Bam,
time.
bam.
Same MO. Oh,
Yes,
and the cops don't seem to be able to see that.
and demonize and character assassinate and do
How
the
did
woo
that
woo.
man how did that man go in for an hour of questioning and then walk home?
I don't
Why
know.
wasn't he
Why did
arrested?
he hit himself on the damn head is what I wanna know. I'm just like, "Stupid."
Well, and
Oh,
my question was when you see the wound on his head, you're going to tell me that all those cops that saw it, not a one of them said, "Okay, well,
let me see your
that
arms. Let's see some
dude,
scratches.
yeah,
Let's
that
see.
that dude Charles Vallow's pretty big guy. I think if with a baseball bat, he'd have caused a lot
Yeah.
more damage than that
Yeah,
little
I know
chipple."
people my family, we've all said, he was a baseball player,
That's
he
right.
almost went pro, but I mean, it didn't matter. If it's you're 10 times stronger when you're in, all that adrenaline and everything, plus he had a demon in
Crazy.
him.
Oh, sure.
I'm just
Ned.
kidding. I'm just saying, well, which one? I mean, depends, there were
Right.
3,
Right.
right? Cheese and rice project much, right?
It's terrible.
That's all these people do. They project their demons, so to speak, their zombie, their insecurities, their failing, everything that they lack inside, they project onto their victims,
Yes.
and then they demonize them for it and
Yeah.
crucify
They
them for it,
dehumanize them so they don't have to feel guilty or
so they don't have to live with everything that they hate about themselves.
that's right. Yep.
Or Lori, I just feel like she just I mean, now, I didn't see this then. I didn't I really didn't have much one-on-one time with her. It was always
Did
family and
y'all did y'all know that she was so
mm-mm, nope,
disorganized? Like this idea that she believed that she
no.
didn't have to poop or pee.
No, but you
to-
gotta think, no. I mean, I don't remember I wasn't around her at that time. My daughter, though, she told my daughter who was, like, let's see, she just turned 18, so 5 years ago, she was 13, right? Okay, yeah, okay. Um, and, so my Uncle Charles, the last text he sent me was, asking me if Ashlyn can go for the summer for 2 weeks, and he was like, "She's such a hoot. She's so wonderful with JJ," and they would go play putt-putt, with Tylee and Visaya, and my daughter was around them more than any of us, more than me,
Yeah.
mom, or Larry, um, and so I didn't fly. I would not fly, and it's crazy because, it took them dying to get me to just be like, "Oh, screw it," I mean,
Yeah.
if they had to go through what they had to go through, I can get over myself.
Yeah.
You know, like, get the hell over it. Just, you wanna be there, don't let that stand in between you.
Is
But
that what you is that why you finally flew, was to go out
yes.
to the
Yeah.
trial?
No, I flew a couple times, like, I went to Knoxville and, with my little kids and my mom, but there was one time when at one time, okay, I had an uncle that died in a plane crash in 2001,
Oh, wow.
okay? I mean, his plane, it was his plane. It was his second plane, and he didn't have it inspected before he took it out, and he was helping a friend, local, city, oh, what was he? Anyways, council member here, and his wife, they were estranged at the time. They were separated, and he had, some stepdaughters. They had a blended family.
Yeah.
And so she was in Michigan with the little 6-year-old that was not his daughter, but his daughter. And she cried wolf, and she said that the little girl was in ICU, and she had,
Mm.
hurt herself when she jumped off a diving board that day. And so my uncle flew him, her daughter, her other daughter, and her son-in-law, and they crashed into a house in Joplin, Missouri,
Oh,
on
wow.
July 13th, 2001.
Mm.
And the people in the house survived, thank God. But I mean, it was another tragedy that I hadn't dealt
Terrible.
with,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and then all the 911 stuff, I was like, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
But I even went and worked on airplanes. I became an airplane mechanic
Oh,
apprentice. I
that's
mean, I was like really
interesting.
trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Huh.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Then they went to piece rate, and I was like, I gotta go. It sucks. It really was. But
Well, I love to fly. I grew up on airplanes, but I'm telling you, the way that they are right now, they seem to be every week there's a new problem. I'm
oh
scared to fly
well.
right now.
I'm
Yeah.
glad I'm not going to Boise right now then.
Yeah, I'm
No.
scared.
I mean, but when you really think about it, really, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen that kind of news, but I believe you. Trust me, I do.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love you
it's
too,
not big.
Zelda.
It's just little things like, like the escape door coming off mid-flight.
Right?
It's just it's just
I
little
actually
things like that.
I hurt my trapezius muscle, which is, kind of in your mid to upper back.
Right.
I lowered myself into an aft cargo pit because we used to take the planes that they were going, like, by the time we were done with them, FedEx or whatever, they were going to Mexico. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So you're just like, well, this, all right, Bertha, it's been fun, but you got to go, girl. But I mean, you had to be, I mean, you had a shadow box and everything for your tools. You had to have them accountable. And I'm just like, one earring could just really jack a lot of things up.
Sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm right there with you. I just stay behind the wing. That's my little place, is right there behind the wing. You know,
Yeah.
it's all about control. That's
Sure.
what my deal was, and I felt like I have more control on the ground, but really, I mean, okay, so I can turn the steering wheel
Yeah.
before being impacted, and
Yeah.
I came to terms with it. I don't like it. It's not like I don't look forward to it. Once I'm in it and going, I'm okay. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
No, I'm one of those weird people. I love it.
oh, you do? You
I
got
do.
you're got the big old grin.
Yeah, I love to fly. Some of the best sleep I can do is on an airplane.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I love
Yeah.
I love
Well,
them
and,
to
like,
depart.
I went up with mom and Larry, to Boise last time. We flew up together, but we weren't always sitting together, so that kinda broke me in a little more. I made sure to schedule my flight when they did,
Yeah.
and then that kinda broke me in a little more. I mean, I'm 45 freaking years old, and I'm just like, "Mommy," you know?
So will you be going this time for this trial?
My little girl, Ashlyn, she graduates, May 19th, so
Mm.
and, like, my boys are still in school until around that time too, so, um, Since it's gonna be streamed, I'm gonna stream it to answer your question really, really late. I was trying to get into my room, but, yeah, I'm gonna
So
stream it.
your plan is you'll do it while it's live, or you're
Yeah,
going to
but
do
I'm
it
not
in the
gonna be
evening?
on it. I'll just kinda be in the chat in and out, I mean, just
Okay.
hither and there, like, I was thinking about just kinda doing, from 8 8, I guess, 8:15, Mountain Time.
Yeah.
I'm Central, but I'm trying to just keep it simple. 8:15, I think it starts at 8:30. They're very prompt, just know that. I'm gonna miss Courtroom Daddy because he was cute to look at. There was this little deputy, and or bailiff or whatever. And, like I said, he was eye candy, but he
Yeah.
was also he micromanaged us big time. We called him courtroom daddy to his face. We're like, "Okay,
Yeah.
courtroom daddy." And he would smile, but it was so tense in there. I don't really desire to be in there. It's too much for my sensory overload. I
Yeah.
tend to take in, like, it's like I'm not hearing 'cause I'm taking it all in at one time. I mean, I was looking at Lori, I had my other eye was pointing the other direction at the jurors, and
Yeah.
then I'm picking and choosing what I'm gonna look at up on the projector. It just wasn't comfortable for me. I mean, I don't know, it's something about those kind of places, they're just so dark
Yeah.
and
Oh, of course. And
stiff,
I mean, this was
and
your family, so that
the second
it's
day now let
different.
me tell you this, and I don't really not too many people know this because I didn't even realize it. So, day 2 of Lori's trial, my mom wasn't there because she had testified the first day, and Brandon did too, Brandon Boudreaux. Well, let me take a sip. Well, they had decided the day before or the night before to just go and have brunch, together, before he headed back to his family, and Um, and so they were gonna start showing, autopsy, just photos that we were gonna start seeing, victims and
Yeah.
our loved ones, and I was like, "I'm fine. I've got this," And so I'm sitting in there with, my beautiful stepdad, and I love him so much.
He's an
Ah,
amazing guy.
Larry, I couldn't be more blessed. My brother feels the same way.
A good man.
Yeah. Um And so I think my Aunt Susan was in there too, I don't remember, and my Uncle Jerry, um, but I just remember, like, going in there and, I remember, like, I was right behind Rachel Smith, like, I could just blow on her shirt,
Yeah.
okay? I mean, you're so close and you're just like, "Wow, okay." And, I saw she was pulling the papers or whatever, the slides, whatever the hell they were putting on the projector, for Rob, okay, and so she was, like, pulling the papers, and so I saw, uh, a flash of the papers. I saw what she was showing, and it was JJ's little pajamas, and I saw it said Sleepy Hero on the front, but all I could see was Leap Her,
Yeah.
and, I mean, I don't know what it was, but, I mean, it was that, I'm sure, but and then I saw Tylee where they said Tylee was, and I was like, that's just I don't see the child. I don't see her. I wanna I don't see her. I don't see anything that resembles
You know,
anything.
t
A
yeah, so
human.
to
It looked like
me
a green hole in the ground, just a hole in the ground with grass around it. This is all I saw with, like, white s specks. I don't even know what they were. It could be
yeah.
Kleenex for all I know. I mean, that's what it looked like. And I
To
was just like,
me,
"What
that's
the
the
hell?"
hardest thing to comprehend. I
Oh,
just can't understand what that was about.
I don't either. Oh, I mean, it's religious purposes. I mean, it's just I could tell you, but it'd probably be better in a private conversation. But, I mean,
It's
it's
kept me awake.
absolutely
It's kept me awake at night trying to
oh,
make
man.
sense of what was
Why?
their
Yeah.
yeah, what was the end goal? Like, what
The
were they
thing
trying
is,
to
though,
achieve?
Well, and this is the really real part, and this, I mean, I'm being dead serious. I have no, this is nothing. I don't get anything from this. That I don't want to be right. I really don't want to be right. That's just it. I don't have a end game. There's nothing in this for me besides understanding and just, I don't know. I just want to understand, and I feel like, is doing this from, I don't know, for my family, not just for them, but for, you know, um, for my generations after me. And, I where was I going with that? It's just important that people understand the truth. I know I've researched way down, and I know it's so hard. It's like speaking, uh, all the languages opposite of what everybody else is speaking, and I'm just, it's so frustrating on both sides, and but there's so much here, and there's so much attached to this, and it's so massive, and no wonder I have felt so just weighed down with this, like, I mean, I don't know, it just became my mission,
Yeah.
I didn't have that before all this. This happened, and then it was just like everything prioritized itself for me,
Yeah.
and just like in an instant, and my family became important to me, and I know that sounds terrible, right? I mean, for them not to have really been that important to me before that, and
Well,
I
no, I
cared
don't
about
think
them,
it.
but it made me value and just really just appreciate them, and where I
Yeah, I
come
don't
from.
think it. I don't think it sounds terrible. I think the majority of people, Kresha, they kind of go through life kind of half, sleepwalking.
Happenstance, yeah. Walking
Yeah,
through life, popping bubbles, that's what I was
w-
doing.
exactly. Not just not really focused in on.
Nothing, yeah, I was
And when
not
there's a
interested.
trauma like your family experience, that really wakes you up and makes you start noticing the here and now and
Yeah,
beginning to really pay attention to what's going on around you. So
yeah. Oh,
I don't think that
self-awareness,
sounds
big
horrible.
time. Huh?
I don't
Oh,
think
I
that
don't
sounds
know,
bad.
yeah, I don't wanna sound insensitive, though, as
Not
I
at
said it,
all.
it just kinda sounded insensitive.
No,
I
I don't
loved
think
my family, I just didn't appreciate them. I
yeah,
didn't appreciate, life, and how
sure.
precious it is, and I really haven't had time to even think about these kinda things, really.
Yeah.
I'm a I'm a deep methodical person. I didn't really know that either. I've learned so many things about myself, and, um, so it's like in those little glimpses, those little moments where you see the best in humanity. You see people like in the live streams for other missing children, and everybody has the best intentions.
Yes.
But just like in anything else, there's that extremism. I mean, literally, you can drink and overdose on water. You can overdose
It's
on
true.
air. We have to have a balance in everything, and I need to freaking look in a mirror because I am the world's worst. All I do is consume this in these cases, and I'm just been trying to figure out this mass puzzle.
So that was what I was fixing to ask you that. I
It's
was fixing
horrible.
to ask
I'm
you,
bad.
are you still immersed in all of this information and the stuff that you have learned? Do you feel like it has helped you get a little bit of stability back?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
just recently though, just I would have to say, like, in the after Lori's trial. I was not ready before Lori's trial. Um, like, right now, I feel like I would love to tell the story. I'm just not a good storyteller. It's not it is difficult, and this is just me. This is who I am. I'm not polished. Uh, I'm a real human being. I'm a real family member. These are my family members, and it didn't just affect the victims who are at the heart of this matter. I mean, I would do anything, and I would trade places in a heartbeat, I think we all would, in my family for sure. I don't, there would be no hesitation. But without that option, you're just like, okay, why?
Yeah.
Why did this happen? Why did my aunt, who I loved and trusted, why did she why did she do this? And that's where I've been. Like, I want to answer those things because nothing thus far has answered all those things. Not even Lori's adjudicated trial. I mean, it's done. So I would just have to settle on that, right? If I were
It,
not curious
yeah.
or if I
It
hadn't
was
made a
really
vow.
sterilized, I felt.
Big time.
It,
And I've been hoping since that time. I'm like, I pray to God it's because they're just saving it for, oh, what do you call them? The
the,
Chadster.
the Chadster.
Just, right?
Old
A
chin.
good Satan is what I call him. A good Satan, right? That's what Lori was like, well, if he's a Satan, he sure is a good one.
Well, I've had this thought too, okay? It's shallow and stupid, but I
Go
can't help
ahead.
it. Sometimes
Have
I do
fun.
that. I l Charles was a really handsome man, right? It's a really
Yeah,
good-looking guy
runs
and,
in the family. I'm kidding.
you um, successful,
Yeah,
well-spoken, and then you look at, Chud,
yeah,
and he's such a cartoon character. Like,
yeah.
there's nothing about him attractive at all.
No,
What
no.
the hell wa Lor there's your proof. Was Lori insane? Of course.
This is
Of
where I'm
course.
like, I don't know what they were doing, but they were doing some bippity boppity boo stuff, where
Yeah.
they believe in this magic stuff. So I'm thinking they're doing the sex magic because
That
it would
I
have
think
to
they were
be
using
that.
sex. I think they were using sex, and I think they were using
Yeah.
drugs. And I think that is
Yes.
central to cult behavior.
Okay, so enter David Hamblin because David Hamblin is all about administering the peyote. And not just David
Oh,
Hamblin, okay, but Sean
wow.
Little Bear, Mr. Medicine Man,
Man, that guy's
okay?
too slick. He is too polished.
Uh-uh. No, he ain't. Mm-mm. They just talk and they talk in their little language, and you're just like, "Oh." That's
No,
the
I
first
mean,
thing that
that's what
bothered
I
me.
mean. He's
Yeah.
when he talks, you can tell nothing he's saying is
Yes.
meaningful.
And
Nothing.
I'm like, "Really? What? You can't bullshit a bullshitter, boo."
There you go.
I'm
There you
from
go.
Louisiana.
Yeah, he gives me bad feelings. Don't like him.
Yes, me
Uh-uh.
too.
Don't like him.
And Janelle, she joins us in our chat,
Oh,
she was
really?
married to him. She actually, there's a screenshot or a collection of screenshots I have, and they're in their language, okay? I'm just gonna say in Mormonese, which is Chad Num's language, okay? And what they did, okay, let me try and remember. The screenshots said, and they were from Sean Littlebear, that it was talking about translated beings and being the 13 Christ-like people, which, oh, anyways, it goes so deep. It goes into Tim Ballard's American Covenant, and the 13 pilgrim or 12, yeah, 13 pilgrims. It goes into they skew it up.
Yeah.
But anyways, but in these screenshots, um, actually, it's from Nancy James. Nancy James, she's scolding somebody in the text exchange of the screen, the screenshot I have. And she's like protecting her meal ticket, basically, the speakers that spoke on, that would speak at the Preparing a People conferences. Uh Nancy James and Mike James, their success depended on Chad, Rod Meldrum, Sean Littlebear, David Warwick, Tom Harrison.
Isn't that
Okay,
crazy?
so when somebody speaks out in these echo chambers, there's the people with the critical thinking skills and are just like, and they're not picking up what they're putting down. And so they do put up a defense, and then they get like attacked by these people, okay?
Yeah.
Like damn kamikazes or something.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, okay, well, I'll just sit over here and watch, but it's
Yeah.
gonna go down. So I do feel for those people who do try to sound the alarms or do. But anyways, in the screenshots, she's saying that um, at that time. She's saying that Sean Little Bear is going to be meeting with the 12 apostles, and that in order to receive this special priesthood, he has to be married. Okay. And so he's getting married tomorrow. We're filming it. And so that's when he marries Janelle. Okay. And
Wow.
so, but there's some
Wow.
other screenshots that I gathered from Reddit. Um, and it's from they're of Dan Judd. Dan Judd is the one who wrote the letter, I think, allegedly, that came out in the FOIA docs about Methgate. Okay.
I don't know what that is.
I don't either. But it came from the FBI. I don't know. It was sent to my mom and them, mom and Larry. I say mom and them, mom and Larry. And, like Sean Little Bear called my parents in the beginning of this. So did Dan Judd.
But what's the whole meth gate thing?
It's just a distraction. It was to muddy up. I think, I think it was to muddy up and just throw the scent off. I really do. No, no, people don't know all these little, detail. I don't know. It's such a big case. It's so much to keep up with.
So Sean Little Bear wrote this letter, and
I
it
mean,
was
no,
really
no,
just
no. Dan Judd, who was buds
oh
with Sean Little Bear and preparing of people, they all one and of the same. Okay, they're
yeah,
one and of the same.
yeah.
And what they're doing with these speaking engagements, with these conferences, is concerning to me. I don't think they're going to look at and learn about the Heartland theory of the Book of Mormon that did not take place in America. America. Okay, it
That's
didn't.
America.
I'm sorry. Unless I see all the Mormons hauling ass, then I'm going to. Okay. I mean, I'm going. No. I'm just picking, but I mean, seriously. But that's what I've studied. I've listened to these people. I've listened to their long talks and all their talks, and just waiting, just listening for clues and just anything, anything. I've even reached out to them, and they're just like, she don't exist, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
It's so aggravating, but because to me that's cowardly. And so if again, here we go to the whole, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. But I mean, there's no Christ around here. You know, it's no. I'm not saying everybody. That's not a blanketed statement.
So what do you think they're doing when they have these little get-togethers and they have these speakers like Chud come in and talk? What's because Sean Little Bear, he did an interview and he talked about how everybody was having sex with everybody.
Well, you have
Right?
you know what you get? 2 convictions. I'm just saying, you get murdered children. Uh, you know, I'm serious. It's
Well,
so gross. It's so gross.
so the sexual, what did you call it a while ago? Sex drug,
Magic, sex magic.
sex magic. The sex magic is something that happens with practicing satanic worship, right?
Yeah, I just didn't know if I was safe to say that here.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I'm so scared to say it.
You can say
It's
it.
weird. It's a weird. It's not my weird, but that weird affects my family and it affects my life to this day.
Well, can we be honest here? I mean,
Yes, please.
you have some hesitation about talking about some of this, but let me
All the
say it
time.
this way. We have Charles Vallow murdered, probably Joe Ryan murdered
Mhm.
from one woman.
Yep.
2
One
kids,
family. One
2
family.
2 kids, and
Oh,
then
and Melanie
another
Melanie 2 of Melanie Pulaski's were being dubbed dark.
nearly
Okay?
dead, nearly
They were
killed.
being marked. They were being targeted.
So do you really think this is
Yep.
because, 2 people had an affair? There's something else
Nope.
going on here that is
No.
far more
Hell no.
profound.
That's the mainstream story.
And that's
No.
if
It
you
is
believe that, you're being really short-sighted.
we have been short-sighted, and if we don't snap out of this thinking and being gaslit by our labelers, I'll just say our labelers, then this is going to continue to happen. My main,
Look at Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrand.
that is part of this, and that is still coming out, and these two idiots are in jail.
Yep.
So, I mean, and it
And
continues,
how many
and that's what
women?
they do.
How many women did Chad get involved in this?
It's not just Chad. It's Jason Mao, it's Chad, it's David Warwick, it's Melanie Gibb. It's all of them. And it's all mainly this group. This group, Chad's from Provo, Utah. It's Southern Utah. Exactly the same town that this group spurs from. And it's not just
Wow.
this one. It's 4 counties just in Utah.
And
that's
David Warwick, where's he? I know he's in Utah.
rubbing elbows with every one of them.
Damn.
Every one of them. Y'all, I it's nuts. It's nuts. And so when you look at, if you look at Tim Ballard, Sean Reyes, Jody Hildebrandt, Ruby Frankie, Lori Vallow, Alex Cox, Summer Shiflett, the Cox family.
See,
Yes.
Summer presents as an innocent, and when you look at some of her behavior, she
was
seemed
there.
like that's
She
right.
went to the Preparing a People conference, and in the FOIA docs, she and Lori were having a text exchange, and she said, oh, whenever Adam was coming in for interference, or no, not interference, for intervention with Charles, which I just learned from Adam on on their podcast or whatever, that he didn't even know an intervention was happening. And I was like, oh yeah, well, that's the first.
Well, his son talked about it in an interview.
Mm-hmm.
I felt so sorry for him. What's his name? I can't remember.
Zach. Me too. My son's name is Zach too. And so is Uncle Charles's other son. So we have a bunch of Zach.
So bad for him. He was talking about how he felt like he betrayed Charles. It was so sad.
I know, poor baby.
So
I mean, really, it sucks. It affects so many people far and wide. But if you look at all these perps, I'll just say perps and all their friends, if you look at all these people and you just come to terms with the fact that they are Satanists, they are disguised. You know how Melanie Gibb said a secret society? And then
secret societies. That's what she said. Yep.
Yes. Yep. And the Gadianton robbers and all this bullshit.
Yes.
And we're just like, okay, whatever, nerd, we don't understand it. And it's scriptural, and not, if you're even a Book of Mormon scripture, you know what I mean? It's so, it's so convenient.
So for people that are in the chat, so with Mormonism, and Melanie Gibb talks about this, with Mormonism, they talk about something that's called secret combinations.
That's
right?
it. Mm-hmm.
And
that's it.
She sort of says it in passing during the interview.
That, and she wrote a letter to Aval, and she talked all about the secret combinations.
Yes. But when she was being interviewed by Nate Eaton, she sort of acted like she was like enthralled with the idea of secret combinations, that she had witnessed a real secret combination. Hell, she knew when it was going on, Kesha. Don't tell me that she didn't know.
So did Ruby Frankie. Did you read Ruby Frankie's words? Did you hear her jail calls?
What
she
were her?
thought, and Jody and Ruby, they're both like, yeah, I'm just supposed to learn from this. Well, yeah, hookers, you both put yourselves here. Because of the inversion that has taken place. It's like up is down, down is up. These people are allegedly worshiping Christ, but they're blaspheming, if you're believing Christian or whatever. Either way, they are tricking it out. They've exploited it. And maybe, I don't think it's even knowingly. I think they really do think they're worshiping Jesus Christ, except look, there's whenever Jim Archibald is doing cross with Audrey Baratero, who I think is one of the biggest witches in the whole coven, whatever the hell.
Me too.
and she's an herbologist, and she works for the church actually, and she just picks up and moves, and she don't have a okay.
That was so crazy.
Every other Mormon woman has like a bunch of kids, they have their family, they have their husband, not her, not her. It's weird. And I don't trust her.
That was a crazy story though about her
I
jumping up
think
and
she
saying,
made it
"Oh,
up. I think she made that up,
it
and
was
it was just
crazy."
because she's part of the secret combination,
Yeah,
so to
so let
speak.
me tell the chat because
Yeah.
okay, so secret combination specific to the Mormon religion, and it comes directly out of the Book of Mormon.
Yes.
So it's not something just made up by a
And it's
scholar.
not the Bible.
The Book of Mormon is not the Bible. It's like a extension, like delivered by the Native Americans or something. Is that
Actually,
something?
yeah, go ahead. I'll just confuse it a lot more.
Okay, so anyway, secret combinations as described by accounts in the Book of Mormon, it is describes a malignant secret society, and a direct quotation, people of the faith are bound together by the oaths that they take to carry out evil purposes that benefit the group.
The greater good, which is actually dun dun dun, let's say a new millennium, but NWO is how you spell it. That's
Sure,
their second
that's
coming.
on a
When they
very
say
grand
second coming,
scale.
yeah, when they say second coming, that is what they mean. I'm ushering in the second coming. Boom. You know right there, I
Yes,
do. They better
yeah.
start changing up them damn words because I'm on to them.
But I would say, looking at this from a psychological point of view,
It's
trying to
crazy.
explain what happened, how things went off the rails so badly, I think it was absolutely secret combinations. But I think that the greater good, the group that was doing these evil purposes, I think it was the preparing the people. I think it was
Yes.
that leadership group
Yes.
that was
No, it's the whole
above
damn
Lori and
it's
Chad, like Jason Mal and others.
okay.
And I think they were doing this secret combination thing, believing that this was some kind of like gift from Joseph Smith. They're
It
right
is.
to
You
do
know
this.
what? Yeah, kinda. It's a lot bigger though. Okay,
Well,
because
I know it.
Freemasonry, I'm
I
not
know
saying
it's
everybody
bigger, but when you start people, when you start putting it like on a global level, then people lose it.
okay.
They lose sight
Maybe
of
that's
that.
why I stay stuck.
But keeping it as close to home as you can in terms of motivation, then it's downright chilling to think
Right?
about Chad and Lori knowingly plotting out the deaths of these people that were in their families that they loved,
And
all
onlookers.
for the enhancement of power for
Mhm.
the group that was above them in rank.
Amen.
Horrible.
Amen,
Horrible.
and it is chilling, and so it's so overwhelming, and it's so hard to talk about. I don't know how to put it into words, and I mean, I do it off camera, I do it off air, I do it, you know, I mean, but then when I go to do it, it's just so overwhelming. It
It
is.
is it is very um it is dark and it is
Mhm.
scary.
And I can feel it, I can see that going on around, with things that are happening, you start looking at these people. That's what I'm doing right now. I've been connecting them legally, okay? Like through nonprofit organizations, things that, people can follow the paper trail because that's how to do it. And that's the only way I can expose. I mean, I can't do it spiritually, not everybody's
Right.
on that ride, but um I mean, yes, this
And follow
ties.
the money,
Yes,
follow
that's
that
what you do.
$1,000,000,000.
So Tim Ballard, that leads up to the Mormon hierarchy. And then, you have Tim Ballard and David Levitt, who David Levitt is also implicated or accused in the Hamlin, many of these SRA victims, alleged victim statements, that they've been trying to prosecute for 30 freaking years. And they've sent
Wow.
in psychiatrists and mental health professionals like Tom Harrison, who are point men. He was a point man for the church hierarchy for the longest time during the satanic ritual. I'm sorry, this is a satanic panic. When Glenn Pace came out with the Glenn Pace memo, they sent that man, that bishop who came out and actually investigated those cases of those people, these victims that came forward with all this horrific abuse.
Yeah.
And so you have like the Franklin scandal going on at the same time,
Yeah.
whatever, all those things are going on at the same time. And so he turns it in to his leaders and they send him on a freaking mission out of
Yep.
country,
That's
right?
right.
Just convenient. Get the hell out of here. You're
Yep.
sounding so when people, and it was a hard thing for me to even cross, and they're not my leaders, but they are people that I used to think that I could run to and that they would help. And so it makes me understand why my Uncle Charles did not get any help,
Ooh,
because they are in and of the same thing.
absolutely. And
And
that's when that's when I got overwhelmed,
yeah.
was thinking about him
Mhm.
begging people, pleading, just please, just do a psych eval. Just
Yeah.
do it. We are in
You're a
trouble here.
controller.
And
Yeah.
they all acted like he
Dee-dee-dee.
he was just insane. It
Yep.
was
And
terrible.
that's also by design, I do believe, because that helps them whenever somebody's sounding the whistle, or you know what I mean, trying to get help, then they get dubbed crazy. And I mean, he was just trying to explain her crazy.
Yeah,
And I mean,
absolutely.
it's very effective, and it's that I'm just like, wow.
Yep.
Wow. I'm not comparing myself to my uncle. Oh my God. I'm not, but it's like I carry that too, because I mean, I'm not in a life-threatening situation, but it's so it really puts a target on you, possibly, potentially. I mean,
Oh,
look at
sure.
what happened to him. I'm just like, well, how far you want to go with this, Krish? But I made a vow, I made a promise, and I'm a woman of my word, you know, and I just I just want to hold those with my family's blood on their hands accountable. That's
Yeah,
all. That's it.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And, you know,
And you should be able to do what you need to do to kind of exercise some of these demons. That I don't think you make
right.
peace with this level of trauma. I think
Uh-uh.
it's pretty shocking, but to develop some level of understanding might be
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, and I'm just now getting there. Um, I talked to this lady last night who I think she's going to come on next week, but she's out of Mormonism, and so she kind of gets it, and she's in this, more of the spiritual side of it. But she's been in the same groups as David Hamblin, as David Warwick, Tom Harrison, and a bunch of other people that we've heard their names over and over again. And not just because I've been saying them, but I mean, so, um, but she was all up in it, and so coming out of that, and she's just like, oh my God, actually. And I mean, I mean, I
So now
can't
that she
verify.
so now that she's out of it, she looks back at those experiences and she's in
Yes.
shock at what she saw.
Yeah, she's learning all about Freemasonry and how that's very much interwoven into, at least for sure, the Mormon Church. Joseph Smith, I mean, he became a Freemason in like 2 days or something
Yeah.
ridiculous. And anyway, so I mean, that's how I learn, is by listening to so many other channels from all across. I mean, I've tried to stay near and around Mormonism because I knew nothing about it. Now, I can't not know about it. But
Unfortunately, there's been an awful lot of really bad things connected to that name.
and it's horrible,
Yeah, it
I was like,
is.
"What the hell, Jason? What do I do with this skill? Is it a skill? What is it?"
Because
I
there's a
think it's
lot
a
of
curse.
good people that
Yes,
are connected
yes.
to the church.
That's just it, especially my Rexburg people, who I had to come to a point where I was like, "Okay," as far as my channel and the direction I was going, at least publicly. I wanted to, I don't want to hurt anybody.
Sure.
I don't want to break anybody's faith. And I really can't. If you really think about that, I can't, I, I, I don't think anybody can do that to us, you know, if
I
we
don't
really
think
believe,
Yeah, I don't think you can break their faith, Cresha, but here's another
I can
thought.
be blamed for it though.
But something that you say may be enough that keeps them safe,
Amen.
that they don't get sucked into the madness.
Yes, or they can maybe pull themselves out of it a little bit, at
Right.
least to make the informed decision. You know
Like,
what I mean? Where they're not
yeah,
just leading, I mean, just going
blindly.
blind,
Like,
because that's
I'm really
so
worried about
scary.
Chad Daybell's kids.
Yeah.
They are
Yes.
they can't see 2 feet in front of them.
I hope and pray. I mean, I really do. I hope and pray that I really just want them to have a soft place to land. That's it. Because
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. And that's I just this Tammy just pops into my head, and I mean, my heart is just so heavy
I mean,
for
she was the
them.
center of the family for those kids.
She was the center of everything.
Yep.
Chad Daybell seemed I think he just scratched his hiney and went and typed on his little computer.
She's the one that started the publishing company.
I know, and she would do all anyways. I mean,
Yeah,
that woman,
he's a
and then
loser.
we
He is a
learned
loser of the most classic definition. He is a
we
loser.
learned we learned, from one of Hidden True Crimes, interviews, I forget with who, maybe Anna, um, that Tammy Daybell's shoes, the soles on the shoes were so worn, um, right before she died. Somebody had recalled that, and I mean, that's just so but it speaks to
Sad.
her, and so, yes, it's tragic, it's so sad, and it's terrible what's come from it, what it's caused, the ripple effects, the tidal waves,
Yeah,
and then, the I say the aftermath, but really, um, you know, there is not one person in charge of these any movement, any of these wackadoodles, I mean, they made their choice. They did. They could have said no. Lori, Chad both had that free will, free agency in Mormonism.
absolutely. But they
You
were
can
after
say
power.
no.
They
They
wanted power.
acted and I really do think that they were matched up by they're so about the bloodlines. They're so about the power in the bloodline, okay? I think this really and I don't know much about so I'll probably say something wrong, but educate me, but like, um, the whole thing with World War II, this is neo-Nazi, whatever the hell. I don't know all the labels. I just kind of call them globalist or elitist or whatever, but it's that. It's that same thing. Whatever happened over there is happening over here. And like Tim Ballard always says, infiltrate. And he says it so many times. It's one of his little buzzwords.
Mhm.
And, and that's what they're doing by abusing our children, murdering our children. David Hamblin, he's a psychiatrist who uses peyote in his, he's even exploited the Native American church and just so he could have peyote on him, and
Wow.
administer it, okay? But there's so many accounts. I have his whole case. If you want it, you are more than welcome to look at it,
I would
but I
absolutely just
warn you,
love to see it.
I warn you, Gordon Bowen, I'm just gonna try and say this really general. Gordon Bowen is a high falutin. I mean, like he's a big deal in the ad agency world. He's like in his 70s now, but still they arrested Roselle Hamblin and she's in her 70s. So there's that. But and I mean she's accused of being in the same group. That's what they go by, the group, or they're the LDS Church of Satan. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so Gordon Bowen was one of M. Russell Ballard's um quote unquote prodigal sons.
Yeah.
And I mean, so just know that they're hanging out whenever he was alive. He just died, but Russell Ballard just died. So just know that they rub elbows together. Just know that the church hierarchy is okay with this dude, and he was excommunicated back in 2004. He's a closeted gay man. I have nothing, whatever, to each their own.
Yeah.
But you kind of, it reminds me of Jody. Okay. You can't be
Mhm.
repressing all that stuff. You can't do that.
Absolutely.
And so he's like big in the ad agency, Maggle, oh my God, Ogilvy Mathers. I don't want to get into the details, but Mitt Romney, he designed all the things, the slogans and everything for the 2002 Winter Olympics in Utah. So I mean, he's a big deal, and the church paid him $20 million for their Jesus logo that's on their website.
God.
20 mil, yo, and it's very basic. I'm just saying.
Oh my God.
Canva could do it real good,
Oh my God.
for
I'd love to
$20.
see the accounting on that.
Right?
Yeah.
But save your trillions for the second coming, for Christ's sake.
Wow. That's
We're
crazy.
Yeah. So, okay, but in one of these statements, the girls, and I say the girls, the Hamblin sisters, the alleged, I'm gonna say alleged victims. Anyways, they were brought there to Gordon Bowen's house, allegedly, to be offered up as it's a punishment, okay? Like their dad got excommunicated even from the LDS Church of Satan, okay? He got all too proud. And it's generational. There's grandparents involved in this. There's all kinds of people involved in this generationally. Um and these girls are brought there as a form of like payment, like here, and so they go into Gordon Bowen's shop where he brings them, and this is so trigger warning. There are mannequins, and I just think about Tylee and JJ. Okay, think about Ruby's children. Think about this whenever I explain this. They're brought in there. There's a man hanging from the ceiling, and he is expert. I'm sorry, yeah, he is skinned, and it looks like it was done by an expert. Okay,
No.
the skins are on the mannequins, drying out, and
No.
they're stitched together, and then made to wear them. I wish I was playing. This is freaking like what?
Oh
Here's your true
my God.
crime, yo. It's horrible.
Jesus Christ.
And so just that little bit I said right there is just one little blurb, okay? That's one of the worst ones. But I think
And then,
Hannibal Lecter, this guy is known as the Punisher. He's the Punisher. And so in each of these little things they have, there's another guy that's that's implicated, or I think that's what you say. And his name is Joe Binion. And I mean, I follow this channel called Investigations and Ritual Abuse.
yeah, I know it. Yep.
Yeah, he kind of works hand in hand with Lynn Packer. And he was hired and paid to basically kind of put the case together, the Hamblin,
Yeah.
the alleged victim cases, and he puts those together. He investigates them. He's been doing it geographically, like where you lay out the same neighborhood, like the neighborhood that Jody Hildebrandt lived in.
Yeah.
That they kind of pick the same kind of neighborhoods where they're very hard to escape from. Like there's and they usually are a group of them living in the same neighborhood. That's from the Hamlin case. So I
Horrifying.
know they connect, and I'm looking for the connector. I mean, they already do.
Well, look at how when Lori took off and went up to Rexburg, look at how they were living. They all went up there together. They were
Yeah.
all living right there
know.
in the like almost adjoining apartments, right?
Yeah, right there at Brigham
And
Young.
even when Pulaski, his house was like right across the street from theirs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So bizarre.
It's
So
nuts.
bizarre.
It's nuts. And it sucks, because there's all these things that need to be talked about. They're deep and they need to be, and I need to learn how to talk about, I need to learn how to get comfortable with my own. It's so weird because it's just hard
Well,
enough just to even speak out about it and not, I'm so, I don't want to be labeled, but I know it's way too late for that.
but look, here's the issue, okay? Especially in this case with JJ and Tylee. What happened to them is not it was such an extraordinary thing. It's not going to be a simple logical explanation.
True.
Something truly went off the rails.
Good
Just if you
point.
just look at Tylee only,
Yeah.
and I can't do that because I think what happened with JJ was very
So yeah,
ritualistic.
I'm unable to micro. I wish I could, but
So I think
mm,
I think we have to consider some really extraordinary things. And if it turns out that it's possible this is happening in a larger group, then
mhm.
someone's got to do something before it happens again.
Yeah, and I think that's where we as the people, and again, I'm not political. I hate like the fact that I don't want to pick the lesser of two evils or whatever. Just don't be a shitty person. I mean, it's so easy, and so I don't know. I'm not, and so people like Tim Ballard, you know, they really do muddy up the waters a great deal
Yes.
because they make it a political thing. They polarize these things and they pit us against one another. I look at the church and institutions just like that as a narcissistic, I'm gonna say father because it's patriarchal, and that narcissistic parent or whatever, it does what to its children? It turns them against one another. It pits them against one another. It causes division, um, and just chaos, okay? Freaking chaos. And then you have the scapegoats, you have the golden whatever, golden child, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Um, and and so then you have the flying monkeys, and that's maybe all the people who are, worshiping said idol or said narcissistic patriarchal daddy. Um, and so it's that's how I look at it, and it's really sick. It's really toxic and I mean unwell. It's unwell,
Yeah.
and so we have to use our voices where they matter, because there's some people, the people like Tim, Glenn Beck, Sean Reyes, um, the the elites or whatever, these Satanists, these globalists, a global death cult is what they are. And
Oh, it's so
I
scary.
I
It's
urge
so
you guys,
scary.
I know, if y'all show up Sunday, or I don't know how else to share it. I have a download of a book called, um, PTK, and it's Programmed to Kill. I'm telling you, it will make a lot of sense out of a lot of these cults,
I'd
and
love to see that.
holy crap.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a book, the guy wrote it, David McGowan, in 2004, and then he died mysteriously, but it's I'm also talking to this girl, her name is Dana, she has a channel called Rotting Jewels, and she is so good at the bigger stuff, like, she's just ties things in, and the nonprofits, Best Friends Society, Animal Society, who Leah, my idol, y'all. I've talked about Leah, I can't Dana always says her name wrong, so now I'm wanting to say it wrong. I always said I'm gonna be the Rhea Lemony of the Mormon
Yeah.
Church.
Yeah.
I always joked, "Well, ha, ha, ha," right? I mean,
Yeah.
it turns out Leah Remini or whatever.
Leah Remini.
Okay, thanks. I'm like, "How do I say it?" She endorses Best Friend Society. David Levitt is part of the Best Friend Society. The Process Church of the Final Judgment is also part of the, Best Friends Animal Society. Um And so Scientology is Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard, um, that's where that comes from. That's theirs, the Process Church of the Final Judgment. And so the Mormons tie into it too. And so, like, L. Ron Hubbard was over the Scientology church, and then there's this guy, his last name is Gench, I'm sorry, and Heber Gench, and he was a Mormon, and he became a leader of Scientology. Second, he was number 2. And it's just interesting how these cults, so-called cults, whatever you wanna call them, they're tying together, and they're one and of the same, and this is all by she shows receipts, y'all, and I'm just
Wow.
like, "Oh my god." She started dipping into David Levitt, and David Levitt is right here in my little stomping area, and I'm just like, "Oh my god." So
Be
she just
careful.
doesn't think that she could blow the lid off of it, and I'm like, "Oh my god, you're so close. You're so
Yeah.
close."
Yeah.
I was just hoping it would be before Chad's trial, but hey, it's gotta be in God's time, you know?
Well, I do love that they're starting on April Fool's Day.
Right?
Yeah, it couldn't be any better,
You
unless maybe
know,
it
with
was World
Lori's
Fool's
trial
Day.
I'm sorry.
Go
With
ahead.
Lori's trial, they actually started, I wanna say on the 3rd or 4th or something like that, but she had jury selection before, but they didn't start it on, like, mid-March. They started it April. So I'm wondering if they just started, said April 1st and they're doing jury selection, you know what I mean? Like, instead of saying April 15th or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying that right, but sometimes there's so many things in my head.
So do you think Boyce didn't want to let Lori's trial be seen because he was aware of trying to pick a jury for Chad's trial?
I mean,
Or
yeah,
do
of
you think
course,
he's had
that
a
plays
change of
into
heart?
that. That plays into that. I like I said, how I thought about it was, I mean, first off, I thought it was wrong. Every trial should just be aired, okay, and open, and just ain't none of that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many other things that become hurdles for victims, family members of victims, people trying to get justice. There's so many hurdles. Look at the Hamblin daughters. I mean, 30 years just to bring the people they're accusing to court.
Yep.
People, I mean,
It's terrible.
but in the meantime, you get all those flying monkeys come at you, and I mean, it's just so wrong
Mhm.
and backwards, and it's just
But
sad.
that's how
But
they stop conversation.
yeah, it's exactly
They
how they
can't let
stop
people yeah, they
conversation.
can't let people talk.
I love how intuitive and just freaking intelligent you are. You are so intelligent.
Well, I mean, you're saying everything that I'm thinking, so
Well, and the same whenever my mouth is shut. Whenever I'm not on here and I'm like, "Oh my god, yes."
so I kind of off topic, but not. So Mike King, he's got this new project that he has put out, and basically he went to this area where Warren Jeffs had the FLDS compound. I used to know the name, not the old one, not the one in Texas, but the
Um,
first one in Arizona. I can't think of the name of it. Anyway,
mm-mm, I can't either.
there's actually an infant cemetery there, right?
Yeah, I saw his thumbnail.
Yeah, so that's all there
There's
is
a
there.
lot of babies that die, and
So
actually they
many.
feed into these sex trafficking things because,
Yes, that's what I
you
thought.
know
I thought, how
well,
do you have 280 dead babies wh- when you
It's
don't
not
have that
just
many children?
non-vaxxers, okay? So, just know that. I'm just saying, well, these polygamous women, they are breeders, basically. I mean, that's basically what they're treated like, okay?
Yeah, but this
And
this cemetery goes back to 1950.
mhm,
So how did all those children die?
they
That's
were
a that's a lot of
okay,
kids.
what supply and demand, sister. Tylee and
No,
JJ are just the new they're just the modern day, is all
wow,
this is, and
wow.
I'm telling you, we can't be I know it sounds uncomfortable. I know it does. It sounds uncomfortable to me when I just even say it out loud. I'm just like, ew.
Yeah.
But okay, so from like a spiritual level, if I'm looking at this spiritually, if there is all this evil, then that and all these bad people, these evil people are um really, they're sacrificing children and have been. We've been chalking them off and keeping this kind of stuff out of the courtroom because of the religious part.
Yeah.
But I want you to know that the people who have exploited even biblical scripture, Book of Mormon scripture, my son's spelling words, and I hate to even say spelling, but his spelling words, I mean, they exploit anything that is of value to us or that we appreciate,
Yeah.
anything that is good and of God or whatever, um, good moral stand ethics, those integrity. They exploit these things. They find the loopholes. They find the statutes of limitations. They, you know, consider it a win in the court whenever the bishop doesn't have to testify because they didn't report the abuse. Then, oh my God, come on. And so to me, it is, and on a spiritual level, I'm speaking that there's evil in the world, there's God, and there's Satan. and Satan is the master deceiver. Okay, so if you look at it that way, then it's kind of it's easier for me to see it that way. But then if you take that out of the equation and then you just look at it just from being a good citizen, a good, American, or just a good person. It does. You don't have to have the labels. It doesn't even have to be about colors or anything. Just let's be us. Let's be humans and just human.
Yeah, but there's no power in that.
Well, good.
They have to group us in groups so that they can exploit the
Right.
power.
And
Yep.
then feed us an algorithm, and then,
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
bitch at us whenever we're like, "Hey."
Listen to how scary this is. And then I probably need to end the live. It's got late. Um, so my husband got these new like hummingbird feeders. And so he was like,
love
"Well, do you want me
hummingbird.
to put one out, by your window so you can see it during the day?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, that'd be awesome." And so we were talking about this hummingbird feeder and how pretty it is. It's handmade
Mhm.
and the glass is hand blown and
Beautiful.
all that.
Makes me miss my
And
mama.
oh yeah, it's so pretty. So anyway, so we're having this conversation. We put it out, and then we go on about our business, go to sleep for the night, whatnot. Wake up the next day. I turn my computer on. What is the picture that is right there, front and center on my computer?
I hope
Hummingbirds.
it's Oh, I was like, "Is it Big Brother taking a
No,
picture
well,
of your hummingbird of
I
your
mean,
house?"
yeah, everything that was coming up was all related to hummingbirds. And I was
Yeah,
like,
you can't
these
speak it.
computers are listening to us. You're
It
never
really
going to
does
convince me that they're not.
it puts a whole new spin on prosperity gospel, right?
Yeah.
But then if you speak it and you know what I mean, I'm all about being positive and everything, but I mean, I know there's a negative to that too, and
Yeah.
just being kinda in the middle of that. But yeah, and it does. I know. All you gotta do is speak it, and then it'll be in your algorithm. Oh,
It's
yeah.
crazy. I told my
I'll just
husband,
tell
I
you
said,
about ChatGPT.
I told him, I said, I'm fixing to turn the Wi-Fi off. That's too weird. Like we never talk about hummingbirds. Like it never comes up in conversation. Never, look at
Yeah.
hummingbirds online, nothing. And we have one little moment about this
Mhm.
one silly hummingbird feeder. And
Yep.
now it pops up first thing is on the computer. Don't tell me it's not listening.
Well, let me blow your mind
Oh God,
because I
I'm
know
scared.
it's the one up game, didn't you
I
know?
know.
Yeah, well, no, Crystal, we're not playing that game. Oh, but wait, there's more. So, basically, I know I say that a lot, but I'm just trying to gather my thoughts. Um, think about the Mormon vaults in the mountain, where all our
Yes.
genealogical records go. I
Yeah.
still have two 23andMe kits here from right before my uncle was murdered, and then the kids were murdered, and I was like, Jason. When I figured it out, I was like, we are not sending these in. And
Yep.
so I asked him the other day, I was like, "Do we still have those?" He was like, "Yeah, they're under the bathroom, should be under the cabinet." And I was like, "What do I do with them? Do I give them away?" I was like, "Hell no, we're gonna burn them. We're just gonna get rid of them." I mean, it sounds cool. It's a hook, yeah, you want to know. And so that's exploited. Amen.
Yeah.
But then they have all your data, and then you just know what background you came from. And so
And
allegedly.
then the question is it even real? The background they
That's
give
why I
you.
said allegedly.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, hey,
But you could blow
they give out temple names, so there you go.
you could blow their mind. You could you could get DNA like from your dog or your cat and send that
Yeah.
in. That'd be pretty fun.
I wonder, there's some people out here who've done this.
That'd be pretty fun.
Hey,
Yeah.
wait, I'd have 2 of them. Anybody wanna do it?
That would be pretty fun.
As an
Yep.
experiment, we can see if it's Aryan or blonde
Yeah.
hair, if it's part of Tim Ballard's, Mormon Women with Blue
Yes.
Eyes,
Yeah.
MWBE club.
Yeah.
Literally, that was in his freaking his civil lawsuit. MWBE, Mormon Women with Blue Eyes. So,
No.
yes, shit you not.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness.
He is a freaking
Wow.
fool, okay? And,
Wow.
I mean, that's the same if anybody was a cult leader, I swear, if I had to, crown the cult leader, with a dunce
Yeah.
cap, it would be Tim Ballard. And I would say that Lori and Chad are a product of that this magic, the sex magic at the Book of Mormon conference. Woo, right?
It's just gross.
Sounds
It's
like a
just gross.
Mardi Gras knot.
Yeah. Without the fun.
I mean, without a bra. Just figure.
Right. At least Mardi Gras is fun.
Yeah, I mean, and if what you remember of it,
Can you really imagine sex with the chud?
I'd have to not remember it.
There would
So
have
we'd
to
have
be
to go to Mardi Gras.
serious drugs involved.
Dude. And yeah, there is though. They hung out with Hugh Vale
Yeah.
and all these people that do administer mescaline, and Tim Ballard was
God.
taking these things, and then Tom
That's
Harrison was,
crazy.
I picture they have the angel and the devil on each shoulder.
Yeah.
But both of them are the devils. And so you have Janet Russin, which was Tim Ballard's psychic / intel. That was, she was doing her automatic writing and stuff. I guess I'll say
How do
praying,
you
but I
have
say conjuring.
they have
Oh,
so much of the witchcraft and the
yes.
black magic.
Why do you think I wigged out when these people have had
Crazy.
my actual literal my papers, my family's bloodline, literally. That's where I got it from. My mom got it from Lori. And it was at the same time that she sent it to Chad to get judged, ranked, rated,
That's terrifying.
dead. So I'm
That's
like, what?
terrifying.
I don't do all that stuff, but what the hell are they doing? And then why is the CIA in it? Like, what? I'm just trying to figure it out. Astral projection, that's what portaling is. And remote viewing, I don't want to know because these are the fruits, right? And I'm good. I'm good.
Well, I mean, the evil came through, right?
Yeah. And I really think that's part of that MK Ultra. I feel so weird talking about so many weird things. Every freaking aspect of this is weird. So I guess I don't blame people for sticking to the good old gumshoe, and just being
Yeah.
like, well, who done it? But this is
Well, yeah. But again, I mean, I hate to keep harping on it.
no, do
This
it.
was not.
Isolated.
This was not what Chris Watts did, right? Chris Watts had an affair. He's probably on the spectrum. He just wanted to have his something, and the kids and his wife were in the way. So he done them in. It's pretty cut
It's
and dry.
narcissistic. I mean,
True.
I'm not licensed to diagnose anybody, so
But
I'm
what
just
happened to JJ and Tylee?
it has it in the indictment.
There's
In the
something else.
actual indictment, it says for religious purposes. So for
Does it
that,
say that?
amen. Yes, that's where I was like, all right, because they
Okay.
used that as a driver. It's what got them there. But and so that's their practice, okay? And
And they acted it out on the kids. To get
yes, and that's
so
all
you
they're going
can't
to
just
act it
say,
out on.
yeah, you can't say that it was just
It wasn't to
they
go to
wanted to be
Hawaii.
alone. It was
It
obviously
wasn't
a
to
religious observance.
Yes, it was not to go uh to the little lot that David Warwick
Oh my
I'm just
God.
like, "Really?" So if Chad and
Can't
them were
you see
moving
it?
if they
Can't
were
you
moving
see the temple in the desert? He's
yeah.
so stupid.
So riddle me this, if Chad and Lori had this big elaborate plan to start their own Church of the Firstborn there, that's the biggest dupe of all.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, that they've turned into that. Um, then why did they go to Kauai? Were they just gonna were the angels just gonna come build it for them or what? Because really, in all actuality, in Mormon scripture, it is a label. It is a title. It means you have entered exaltation as far as, a spiritual in the Mormon paganism. I'm making up my own words. In the Mormon religion, just if you follow their trail, then, I really do think that they were matched up according to their so-called bloodline. And at first I was like, okay, so they were matched up by their church leaders because in order to get sealed in a temple, you can't just sneak in a temple. I remember having these conversations and arguing against them, for years until for sure we found out in Lori's trial that they for sure were in a temple, in and out of temples all over the place. But in November 16th, 2018, at a Mesa Preparing a People conference or event, and that's whenever Mike Stroud spoke, Chad spoke,
Wow.
Jason Mao, Mike Stroud's like, "Oh, hey, Thor, Chad, Jason, Mike. Oh, good to see you guys." I have it memorized. But, they were sealed. And so everybody in that close circle for sure, or let's just say the secret combination club members, um, the Gatianton robbers, who gallivanted, at that particular conference, like Zalima,
Yeah.
Audrey was there. They knew
Sure they do.
Melanie Gibb, and they know the plan. That's why they're praying, and so that's what I'm doing. I'm talking to this woman, the woman that's coming out of Mormonism, right? And she's more on the spiritual side. And so I asked her last night. I was like, "So what is up? Why did they go after my family?" She said, "Power. It's nothing. It's money, power, sex that goes for everybody, and it's kind of one and of the same." I mean, I get that. But this is about power because whenever you are inflicting this much pain or abuse or, just murder your children, it's about power. There's no way a child can match up to an adult in strength
Yeah.
and just, I mean, they're catching them off guard. They are terrorizing them,
Yeah.
taking everything they love away from them, stripping them bare. And then saying, there's Melanie Gibb and David Warwick saying, well, JJ or Lori told us that JJ said, "I love Satan." And I'm like, well, it doesn't freaking surprise me. If that happened that way. And that's why they say the picture of Christ got knocked off this refrigerator. That's made up. All this is their demons that they are projecting onto that
Yes.
child
Yes.
and those children, not just JJ, Tylee. Oh my God. Anyways, and then you have, I was listening to Court TV yesterday and they played a little clip from David. And I was like, oh my God, I never caught that little part. And
From
it's
David
about,
Warwick.
yeah, it's about, I wrote the timestamp down, but it's in my room. It's about David Warwick saying that, that he's being questioned about Tammy and Chad, and something about, he said, and Satan has the powers to push one's spirit out of their body. And I was like, oh yeah, Satan, church lady comes out, and we're like laughing. Yeah, because it's Dana Carvey, and yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wish, but it's real. And so you just have to, the devil's in the details is what I've always been taught.
Absolutely.
And
I have one more question for you. Do
Go for
you
it.
think that John Pryor is related to Chad Daybell?
No, even though they looked so close.
I swear I'm going to make a video proving that they are related.
And that's something.
The
Oh
way
my
they
God.
walk, the
I
shape of their
know.
body, their
Yes.
eyebrows,
The tiptoes.
it's crazy.
Forward
They've gotta be.
walking. I saw that yesterday.
I keep saying, I
Or day
swear,
before.
I think he's his uncle or
Maybe
maybe
he's his grunkle.
cousin. You should ask Hidden. You should ask
Oh, I
Lauren.
saw him at Lori's trial. I mean, me and Ashley are gonna fly up there for sure after she graduates, and we'll go up there for a little bit. You know, I know me and Jason flew back around that time, May 19th, May 18th. Her trial was over by that time, but his is gonna be a little longer.
Oh, I think his will be much longer because of the death penalty portion.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just like, whatever. Just
Well,
poof, be gone.
okay. You are so awesome. I wish we would do this more often. It's so interesting to talk to
I
you.
know. And it's just it's relaxed for me.
Yeah.
It's way more relaxed. And I love bouncing off your brain. So I might rack it a little bit too. So I do apologize for that.
You are a wealth of information. It's so interesting to
We
listen
just gotta
to you.
learn. I gotta figure out how to get it out. That's my problem.
It's so interesting.
I figured
So when is
talking.
that lady gonna be on your channel?
So because of the trial and everything, and because I'm gonna start streaming it Monday, I wasn't gonna do the jury poll. I'm like yawn, but it is kind of interesting sometimes. But I'm gonna kind of do it and just get into the routine, I guess. That's mainly what I'm gonna be doing, and kind of work the kinks out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and come up with some kind of game or bingo or something, and maybe we can pay it forward to Tammy's foundation.
Oh, that'd be great.
And anyways, or and pick some. Maybe every week we can do something different. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what did you ask me? Because I already forgot.
No, I was just asking you when she would be on.
Oh yeah. So because of the trial, it'll be, I think we are tentatively setting it for like next Saturday.
Okay.
But we're gonna kind of do like a pre-record, and that way, I don't know. I've never really done it, so I'm just gonna try something new, and I'll be streaming all week. So
And it may help her feel more confident too.
yeah, she has her own channel too.
What's her channel?
It's hard to say. It's Kadosh Life, and it's at Kadosh Life, which is KADOSH
Okay.
Life.
Okay.
And
All right.
yeah, just she has a few, like a 4-part series that I just finished watching the 4th part, and she's opened up with Tom Harris, and I was like, oh my God. So I emailed her and I was like, I'm tired of watching all these damn videos and just saying, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And then so I acted.
I think
But
that's awesome. Well, I
and
will
then
for sure be there to watch.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, no, look, hey, your chat likes the way you do your channel, so you do your channel the way you do, and everybody should do that. I know that it's like, okay, well, everybody's going to be streaming it, it's just like,
They
well,
are. Yeah.
but I
Scott
mean,
Rice is talking about he'll be streaming. So I think
yeah,
everybody is. But like I said today,
we all
I'll
have
have
record of it.
30 people there. It'll be my
Yeah,
friends. But
exactly.
it'll be comfortable and it'll be fun
It's
that
a
way.
community, and either way, we're all going for the same goal, and
Yeah.
that is to bring justice. The part 2 the second segment, if you will, for Chad, and that's in honor of Chad there. Second segment.
Yeah.
I knew
And
my life had 2 parts.
in
Dumbass.
some ways, I think this is the big one because it's his sick brain that
Mhm.
drove it to home, drove
And
it to
so
where it
yeah,
went.
one of my uncle, I know, I'm sorry. Uncle Charles had sat down with my Uncle Bobby, um, before he was murdered, and he was like, "Oh my god, what is she gonna do whenever she comes down from this?" And here they are. Here she is, and, things are the way they are, and they're still not down from this.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
whatever power they've gained, so-called power, it is very short-lived.
Absolutely.
I mean, it came, with a hefty cost or hefty price tag. I mean, that their souls have to pay for, and that is between them and their God, them and my
Well,
God.
I agree. And I also think Melanie Gibb and
Mhm.
that there's still some Melanie
We're gonna
Pulowski,
see.
they should have answered. They should have answered for what
Yeah,
their part in it.
and I think that it's reckless if the fact that they let Melanie Pulowski put her children in her arms again,
Hey, that girl ain't right,
that's
okay?
dangerous, man.
I'm just saying, something's not right about
And then to
Melanie
act like
Pulowski.
nothing happened and nothing's
Yeah.
wrong, and you're just so, "Duh." Uh-uh.
That video of her standing out in front of her, um, uh, what's Boudreaux's parents' house,
Yeah,
and
with
Alex
Alex
in the truck.
freaking yeah, Grim Reaper right there, I'm good.
She's whack. She's
Yeah.
something wrong with her.
What it's just like when they about the temple recommend, how Lori was
Yeah,
like, "It's either give me a temple recommend or I'm gonna commit murder." Ha ha
crazy.
ha, you know?
Yeah, like how close to the truth can you get there?
"Well, give me my kids or, Brandon,
Horrible,
or,
horrible.
I'm gonna murder or I'm murder anyways." But it wasn't no one was murdered here, okay? Wink, wink. No one. They were sacrificed. It's splitting the
Yeah,
hairs,
let's
okay?
get it right. Let's get it
Splitting
right.
the hairs. I did it for my God. Anyways.
Terrible,
Oh,
terrible.
yeah, yeah. Let's pray for them, even
I
though,
know,
let's
I
pray for
know.
those children. Let's pray for the children.
Well,
Anyways.
I don't mind telling you, when I saw that deal with Mike King and those graves,
Mm-mm.
280 babies, I that is a symptom that there is something seriously
It's
going
not
off
well.
course.
All is not well.
Absolutely.
And I
Because
mean,
that
not just in
how
this
can you
island.
deny that to see them all in one place
That's proof.
in
That's your
such a
receipt.
teeny tiny
Yeah.
community? That is humbling.
Somebody in the comments, and, I printed things off a lot, mainly in the beginning of the case until it got expensive. But anyways, I I ran across some papers the other day, some comments, and uh, it was this conversation between I would say two maybe fringe Mormons or maybe one ex. Anyways, they weren't really true blue Mormon believing Mormons, but they said, "Oh, I think the little girl was maybe used for, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my god," you gotta read all these things, and then the little boy, they said, "He's probably one of the Lost Boys," and I was like, "Oh my god," I didn't know what the Lost Boys was when I first read that comment 4 or
Yep.
5 years ago. I
Yep.
know who the Lost Boys are now, and
Yep.
that they're born without, being on record, they don't have birth certificates,
That's right.
and when they become a, uh competition with the older men, the older patriarchs, then they toss them out. If not, they really don't mind not murdering them. Wink, wink.
Right. Right. Well,
So, and I
murdering
hate
us
to laugh
all.
like that, but it's just so weird. So weird.
It is pretty
It's
horrible.
disgusting
Well,
and
Warren Jeffs, who obviously probably put together one of the most famous cults, right?
I
Dark,
mean, but yeah,
horrible.
but people myself included until I knew better.
But
You know,
he was a prime sex addict,
look
top
at
of the
him. Look
line
at him.
cocaine head. He
Right?
was the worst human being of the worst human beings. And yet he was exalted. They lifted him up. They said, "Look at what a great guy."
They still do. And just call them worldly. That's enough to just piss them off. I like stroking those narcs' egos.
Yeah, he
I
was.
mean, really, I still haven't done this, and so I need to go and do that as soon as I get off of here. Is go slap some damn "We Hate Your Books," Chad, on some
Yes,
t-shirts. Damn it!
yes. Please do
I
that. That's
mean, I
awesome.
just not saying you can wear them in there, but it makes us feel better, and it's not about him anyway. So,
Yeah, and
um,
it kind of gets a little bit of revenge, in a
yeah,
way that doesn't hurt
definitely.
anybody.
And he can't stand that, because
Yep.
he's a patriarch.
He's an
Anyways,
idiot.
he's about
Okay,
to be
he's such
convicted.
an
That's all I
idiot.
worry about.
He's going to be convicted, and
Yeah, and we don't
I
have to say
think
allegedly anymore.
I think he's got a good chance of death penalty, depending on the kind of jury they put together. If they
Yeah,
load it up with LDS,
they're
then
not gonna
you
kill
won't
him
get it.
anyway. So, I
But
mean,
he's going to pee in his pants when they give him the death penalty.
oh, chatty daddy.
Oh, Chatty Daddy's going to be going, no,
You have to get him
no,
some
no. I'm
pants
scared, Daddy. I'm scared.
and maybe a nookie, and yeah, whatever. He can just poof, be gone.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't wait.
All right, Crusher. Well, you were awesome. Thank you so much for coming up and visiting. I had a
Thanks for
great
having me.
time.
Thanks for having me, guys. I
Yeah,
appreciate y'all.
absolutely.
Appreciate you. Appreciate what you do,
Sure.
and your support. I do. So, love always wins. Justice for Tyler, Charles, Tammy, JJ, and Joe. And then I'm out. Bye,
Amen.
guys.
You sleep well tonight.
You too.
Bye-bye. So bling is the new black. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you. She said, Krisha and Jules love you like sister wives. You can be one of the sister wives, Bling. Come on in, group hug. Pam Frenchman, you are a very good friend, and I appreciate your support and your help. Y'all are awesome. Hey, Martian Planet. He was married to Uma Abedin. Oh Lord, Anthony Weiner. God. Okay. It's late. We have been doing this for 4 hours. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 240 minutes. I'm not going to tell you how many seconds it is. But I did see, I don't remember who it was now. It wasn't Yvette. Somebody came in and told T Please. T Please said that on T Rev's channel, Chris Proudfeet, one of his wives or girlfriend, came up on panel and spilled the tea about Christopher Proudfoot. And it appears that Mr. Proudfoot is a monster. So I am going to end this live, and I'm going to make my way over there to T-Rev's channel, and then I'm going to listen to it and as I go to bed, as I go to sleep. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it so much. Precious, so interesting to listen to. And I know people try to be judgmental. Hell, they're judgmental on me. People don't like it when you have a different opinion than they. So we do have to be more open, though, to tolerating each other's thoughts and ideas. So you guys are open. And I love that because it means that you're smart. So. All right. Y'all have a wonderful evening. I hope you sleep well. It's 11 o'clock. It's a perfect time to get your beauty rest, right? And I will see you guys tomorrow, okay? And I wasn't ready with my little goodbye, good night song, but here we go. Y'all have a good evening. Good night.